What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news right here on our YouTube page. Also going streaming live over on Facebook as well. It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, certainly coming through as we've got a ton of news and topics to certainly go ahead and break down and discuss with you guys this week as we certainly wrap up this weekend the right way. But it's not just me going ahead and talking and discussing things with you guys today. We actually do have ourselves a full crew today certainly coming on. We've got our boys as usual, Stuart and Indy in the house this week. What's going on, guys? Good to see all of your beautiful faces today, man.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Good to have you back, Indy. You doing all right, man? You hanging in there, brother?
I'm hanging in there. It's gonna be all right.
Good to hear, man. I'm glad to have you back. We definitely missed you last week, didn't we, Stuart?
Yes, very much so.
So yeah, we definitely have ourselves quite a few topics to definitely go ahead and talk about today. I think we have 6 overall spread all across Marvel, DC, movies, and television. So we've got some great topics. And just remember, guys, these are just always our A-plus opinions. But at the end of the day, we definitely want to go ahead and know yours. So feel free to certainly interact with us if you'd certainly like to, and go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after we certainly talk about these particular articles. And you can butt in at any particular point in time based off of anything that you hear or read in any of these articles that we certainly go ahead and talk about, guys. But you know how we like to do around here before we even dive into our main topics for the day. We like to go ahead and go over some honorable mentions for you guys. Some things that maybe didn't necessarily quite make the cut, but were interesting enough for us to at least bring up and discuss very briefly here before we go ahead and get into some of our main topics for the day. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Indy, since you are back this week, man, do you have an honorable mention for us to go ahead and kick off the episode with?
Yeah, it was something that I was extremely excited before, and I didn't know if they were going to pull the trigger on it. But there's a manga series out called Deadpool Samurai, and they had a very, very interesting cameo. And with the list of articles that we have today, I thought it was only right to talk about Deadpool's official My Hero Academia crossover cameo that they had.
Nice.
That was very, very interesting. And what happened, it was like a ordeal where like Deadpool came face to face with Thanos, and Thanos was just smacking Deadpool around. And then Deadpool decided, you know what? I'm going to call Captain Marvel to come in here and beat the brakes off you for the assist. But he accidentally sent the text to All Might, and the symbol of peace just jumped in with like one Detroit smash and just one hit Thanos. And then like the panel that I love is friggin' All Might holding Deadpool in his arms like a baby and just looked at him and went, I am here.
Yo, I love it.
Yeah, it was really good.
I love it. Do you think any chance that turns into an anime or a quick spot on the series itself, perhaps?
In My Hero, no. But if we do get an animated Deadpool like we should, I do believe that we can have something like that popping up. I feel like a Deadpool animated series, there will be no bounds to what could happen.
Probably that wouldn't be like the first time Marvel's done like an anime, or there's been like an anime based on a Marvel property, because there was a really interesting Avengers anime I remember stumbling upon, where it was like all the same characters except for they used trading cards in order to power up in their suits. So yeah, like Iron Man, Captain America, they would all use trading cards in order to, get into to morph into their counterparts. It was interesting.
I've noticed since that the little doc they had on the Japanese Spider-Man
on Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus, it just seems like there's been more stuff going on in the background. So and it was the original creator of My Hero who actually drew All Might. And that's the only thing he did was he drew All Might in this series. That in the manga they just had. So I could see them. I could see them doing like a one-off. You know what I'm saying, or something like that, or bringing in like anime animators, you know what I'm saying, to come in and do a specific episode and like introduce something like that in it. I think it'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool, man. And I know you guys talked a little bit about that on Anime Assembled yesterday too, correct?
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
did.
If you guys haven't had the opportunity to check it out, if you're big anime fans, Indy definitely goes ahead and talks about it every Saturday for you guys. So it is up on our his newest episode of Anime Assembled is up on our YouTube page if you want to go ahead and check that out. Before we get into your honorable mention, just want to give a quick shout out to Gabriel for certainly coming through. He says, "What's up, guys? Good to see you in here, Gabriel. Thank you very much, man." What about you, Stuart? You got an honorable mention for us this week, man?
Yeah, since Indy didn't cover this one, even though he's normally the guy that gives us the Flash, reviews, they have just announced that for the 100th and 50th episode, we already knew that Bart Allen was coming back, or was going to make his first appearance, but now we got official confirmation that both Jay Garrett and I forget her name, Nora Allen, that's it. Yeah, so both she's also going to be coming back. So my assumption, since we know that Bart Allen is supposed to be their son, I guess what they're doing is that Bart Allen and Nora Allen are going to be like the
Tornado Twins. Yeah.
So it'll be like the same characters, just different names, I guess.
Very cool.
Either way, it is kind of cool that we are like officially, it seems like, getting the Tornado Twins in the Flash, if they do it the way I'm assuming they're doing it.
And Jay Garrick coming back, because we just heard Jay Garrick was supposed to be on Stargirl this season also too. So I'm wondering if there's any ties or connections or references. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool, man. I think after we heard the Bart Allen stuff, I know some of us maybe speculated maybe they were going down a different route of the Tornado Twins, the idea of why make the grandson now the son sort of thing. But maybe they do have a plan. Maybe it's nicely coming together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm definitely a lot more intrigued now than I was when I first heard the news.
That's cool, man. That's a great that's a great honorable mention. Thank you for bringing that one in.
Maybe Bart just jumps in and is like, I'm your son, but knowing he's their grandson because he's not trying to mess up the timeline or something like that. Maybe they're just messing with like the hardcore Flash fans, just bother them,
just to bother us a little bit, just to get underneath our skin a little bit. And you also brought up, I know you brought up the Flash, but wasn't there an article about Legends of Tomorrow Star leaving the show?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. I think I suppressed that memory.
What was that about?
No, we didn't want any negative news to start off the show.
Oh, my bad. All right, let's go to a more positive. A couple quick things off the bat. We first had our first official look at our Powerpuff Girls. CW went ahead and released the actual photo here of Buttercup, Blossom, and Bubbles here for you guys. So this is our first official look. We've already seen them on set and things like that, some set videos. We've talked about it previously in the past couple of weeks, but this was actually an official first look from the CW. Outside of that, we also wind up getting ourselves a new poster for the upcoming Star Wars animated series, The Bad Batch. I know a lot of people think automatically when they see it, it's The Bad Bitch. What? Star Wars? No, it's The Bad Batch, spinning off of the Clone Wars series that we wind up recently getting. I haven't really been that interested in it, honestly, but the trailers have actually been kind of appealing to me. So I am on the fence as to whether or not I'm going to check this out. Have you thought about checking this out at all, Indy or Stuart?
I'm definitely excited for this series. Like I wasn't the biggest fan of their episodes that they were in. Like I thought they were good, but as characters, I just thought they were somewhat generic. But I feel like when they have like a full series to flesh them out, it's going to be something a little bit more interesting. Plus, I do like the fact that it's not taking place during the Clone Wars. This is actually like a sequel, it looks like. So it'll be kind of cool to see like the world immediately right after what happens when the Clone Wars ends.
Yeah, I think if there's anything that really is fascinating me, it is probably the time period in which it's taking place. So that might get me interested to go ahead and check it out, since this is, like you mentioned, right after the Clone Wars. It's definitely during the rise of the Empire. You know what I mean? When the Republic is really going downhill, if you will. So that does fascinate me. So I am rather interested. And really, the only last honorable mention that I had was the newest Army of the Dead trailer that we wind up getting from Zack Snyder. That's supposed to be released on Netflix in July, if I'm not mistaken. Did you guys have a chance to check it out at all this week?
Oh yeah, it was just great because it looks like it's going with the two genres like we kind of suspected, the zombie and the heist genre, combining them so seamlessly together. And it's just hilarious because ever since I've seen that Rick and Morty episode that they did about heists, every time like I see the a montage of like the people getting together to do this like one last heist before they can retire, I always just kind of keep thinking of, you son of a bitch, I'm in. I don't know if you guys have seen that Rick and Morty episode, but it's hilarious.
But I do need a zombie mode for Grand Theft Auto 5 now. I need a zombie heist for Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yes,
that would be pretty cool, man. I do like that idea. I will say this, I do like the zombies in this too. The idea that they're actually not necessarily just mindless zombies, that they clearly are organizing things together, right? Like they can think for themselves, they're faster. I probably would not survive this apocalyptic version of Earth. I mean, if that's another video you want to do also, Stuart, right? Would I survive this? I don't know if I would survive this movie at all, just the way that these zombies are moving around, man. It looks like Zack Snyder's definitely elevating it to a different level for them.
Yeah, I would survive, no problem. No problem, because I wouldn't have went.
You wouldn't go out there at all. I wouldn't visit Las Vegas at all.
It's so funny because people say that the fast zombies are the ones that'd be impossible to survive. Well, here we got not only fast zombies, but fast zombies that can apparently think.
Yeah, that's terrifying to say the least. So I'm looking forward to this. It looks like it's fun. The action looks like it's going to be incredible. I'm really excited to see what Zack Snyder's vision is certainly going to look like. Gabriel even says it's cool to see Zack Snyder going back to his roots. It was Dawn of the Dead remake that gave him his start in the business. Yeah, great classic film. Certainly go back and check it out. I really want to go back and check it out. I feel like it's been several years since I've had the opportunity to watch Dawn of the Dead again. But yeah, that was definitely his start for sure.
It's really, really good. Not even like zombie genre. It was just a really well put together movie.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree for sure. All right, guys, I think that's probably going to do it for most of our honorable mentions for the day. So if anything, it's time to go ahead and start tackling our news this week. Are you fellas ready to go ahead and get into these articles?
Man, let's go.
Let's go. I love it. I love it. All right, guys. So the first topic we're going to go ahead and get into, we'll definitely go ahead and stick with some Marvel stuff here for you guys this week, at least for the first topic. This one comes to us from Variety.com. It looks like we've been waiting quite some time for Spider-Man to continue to reveal more information, some solid confirmed information, because it does feel like most of the stuff that we've been hearing about have either been rumors or speculation or things based off of set photos. But this is our first time we actually have one of the stars coming out and talking a little bit about the movie for the very first time. I guess Alfred Molina certainly doesn't have any snipers aiming his way, to certainly say the least, as he's finally come out and talked a little bit about the movie. And Doc Ock going into here has always been one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. So the idea of having Alfred Molina certainly return was a big joy to me, to certainly say the least. So I'm glad that he's actually talking a little bit about this particular movie. So let's go ahead and see exactly what Alfred Molina certainly did go ahead and say to go ahead and get us hyped for Dr. Octopus's return. So again, this is from Variety. Alfred Molina details Doc Ock's return in Spider-Man No Way From Home, where he says the tentacles do all the work, which I'm sure they probably did even back in the day, but now that he's gotten a little bit older, I'm sure it's a little bit more complicated. He says, when we were shooting it, we were all under orders not to talk about it because it was supposed to be some great big secret, is what he said, laughing during an interview with Variety. But he says, but it's all over the internet. I actually described myself as the worst kept secret in Hollywood. He says, instead, not only did Molina confirm his involvement in No Way Home, he happily detailed his experience making the movie and returning to the part he first played in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 in 2004, which is crazy that it's almost been, how long ago was that? Oh goodness, it's almost been a good 20-something years. That's kind of crazy. He says it was wonderful. It's very interesting going back after 17 years to play the role, given that in the intervening years, I now have 2 chins, a waddle, crow's feet, and a slightly dodgy lower back. He asked John Watts how the movie would bring Doc Ock back, since, as he pointed out, I died, is what Molina told the director. And the director told him, in this universe, no one really dies. And I feel like we've kind of learned that over the years. But it does say in early conversations, Molina said that Watts told him in the movie would pick up Doc Ock's story from that moment in the river, which in the franchise that includes multiverses, time travel, and diverging timelines seems plausible enough. But Molina's concerns were a little bit more practical now that the fact that he is 67 years old. He says, he just looked at me. He said, "Did you see what they did to Robert Downey Jr. and Sam Jackson?" Talking about the Civil War and the use of the CGI to de-age Robert Downey Jr. So he says, yeah, and even used the example of The Irishman in regards to de-aging and its limitations. So he says they made Robert Downey Jr. face look younger, but when he was fighting, he looked like an older guy. He looked like an old guy. That's just what worries me about doing it again. He says, I don't have the same physicality that I had 17 years ago, but that's just a fact. But he did go ahead and remind us that I then remembered that it's the tentacles that do all the work. So it definitely seems as though regardless of Alfred Molina's age at 67, de-aging is definitely going to come into play. I'm sure they're probably going to have some stunt doubles, some great CGI. And he does have a point. At the end of the day, the tentacles seemingly do all the work, and you just have the great close-up shots of Alfred Molina's expressions, and boom, you got a masterpiece on your hands. You know what I mean? But for me, I find it really interesting that not only are they going to be using some de-aging technology, but really the idea of how Doc Ock possibly survived the events of Spider-Man 2, which we saw him sinking to the bottom of the river alongside his lethal experiment that unfortunately went wrong. When you think about it, just from a point of view of storytelling wise, I feel like it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, in the sense of all the scientific stuff that Doc Ock was certainly working on, it's plausible enough that the malfunction and things like that of harnessing the power of the sun or whatever he certainly was, maybe the malfunction just wind up creating some type of wormhole or timeline, alternate timeline, and suck Doc Ock through it. Seems plausible enough. So I kind of like this idea here. And so I'm really glad that Alfred Molina not only is involved, but he's talking a little bit more about it. I think this is just going to add speculation as to how some of the other villains and maybe the other characters might actually pop up in this particular movie. But I want to ask you guys, now that Alfred Molina has spoken out, does this kind of confirm to you guys that not only is Jamie Foxx really going to be in this movie as Electro, which I think he even came out, Jamie Foxx, and maybe even confirmed it now that I think about it, but this is make it even more plausible that we do get somebody like a Andrew Garfield and a Tobey Maguire to kind of be on board with this also. I'm really fascinated to know what you guys think, but you hear Alfred Molina talking about his experience. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me go ahead and kick it off to you first, Indy, now that you've gotten the opportunity to hear some of his words.
It just sounds like this is something that could have possibly happened sooner. Like he actually, you don't normally hear actors happy to be back to reprise roles that they did 20 years ago. He sounds like he's geeked for this. I'm good. I'm good for it. As far as your other question goes, I don't know. I do feel like Jamie Foxx is attached to the project, like he'd be there. When it goes to the other two, I do feel it's still a reach, but possible. It feels more possible than what it was before. I'm curious into seeing what Sony more than Marvel is really trying to accomplish with this, because it's for them, it's them throwing all their chips in the middle of the table. You know what I'm saying? And Marvel has a stack of money where, you know what I'm saying, they only got to throw 2 chips in the match. That's honestly how I feel it's going right now. So we'll see what happens. Do I want them in the movie? It depends on how it's written. I don't want them. I don't want them in there just to be in there. There has to be a reason for them to be in there. With this Doc Ock returning, you can't possibly have another Doc Ock, can you? Unless you use the one from Spider-Verse, but then that would just be more confusing. So maybe the least confusing way that you could actually bring a Doc Ock back that wouldn't hurt the movie, because it is really hard not to live up. It's going to be really hard for somebody else to live up to his performance that isn't a more expensive actor than what he is.
Yeah, I don't know if you can go wrong when it comes to Alfred Molina, especially returning as Doc Ock. Like, I almost wouldn't want anybody else to reprise his role. Like, if you hadn't told me Alfred Molina was coming back and you just recast Doc Ock in another movie, I would have been perfectly okay with that. But the fact that we are dabbling in the multiverse and alternate timelines and things like that, yeah, bringing Alfred Molina back, I thought was an absolutely brilliant decision on their part, because for the most part, I feel like a lot of people would even put Doc Ock up there with one of their favorite all-time Spider-Man villains, movie-wise at least, or maybe top 2, top 3 easy. You know what I mean? So definitely a fan favorite to see his return. Let me throw this over to you, Stuart. You hear this news. What are some of your thoughts about what Alfred Molina said in regards to how they plan on bringing Doc Ock back and really this universe? No one really dies. You know, what are some of your thoughts in regards to what he had to say this week?
Yeah, no, so like after kind of listening to his interview, I think this does basically confirm that it is going to be the same Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. And I mean, there is a perfect setup that they have for it. It's the fact that his device was supposed to, harness the power of the sun, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens when a sun dies out? It turns into a black hole. So, yeah, it is very possible that that's what caused him to get sucked into the, MCU dimension or whatever. So I think, yeah, it makes total sense how they could easily write him into the movie. And, on top of that, I think what also really suggests that it's got to be the same, Doc Ock from the Spider-Man 2 universe, or, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man universe, is Marvel, when it comes to casting, they usually cast very young because they want these people to be in upcoming projects for like the next 20 years. So if they were going to bring Alfred back to reprise his role as Doc Ock, I feel like they would only do it if he was reprising the same role as Doc Ock. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that we are getting an official multiverse movie within the Spider-Verse. One thing I will say too, though, also, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this quote unquote leak was actually strategized by Marvel. I think like him saying that like, oh, I'm not supposed to be saying this is all scripted. I'm pretty sure Marvel actually wanted him to like say it, but they wanted to make it look like it was a leak. So that way they can get fans really anticipated, and they could also get a feel for how fans can react to this. So if they need to make any story adjustments to this, like let's say the fans weren't happy with the idea of it being like the same Doc Ock, they could easily make like a quick like reshoot, like with a different explanation of where he comes from and that kind of a thing. So, I feel like it's more strategized than Marvel lets on.
You definitely might be right in regards to that, for sure. Because I'm trying to wonder if I believe filming might have already wrapped on this, but so yeah, I mean, if anything, maybe they still have reshoots that they certainly have to go back to the drawing board and do. So always a possibility that they kind of use it this way. But I'm just glad that he's actually coming out and certainly talking about it a little bit more. Honestly, I mean, it's one of those things where I just think to myself, if it since it is in fact going to be Doc Ock, I think the idea of how they're bringing him back just sounds pretty brilliant to me. I don't know if Marvel has like scientists in the background that's like, yeah, this is how the physics work, and he would definitely come back to this universe. Like I don't know how who comes up with this stuff, but it certainly seems like it's plausible enough for me. So I'm really excited for it. Not only that, but clearly we got Electro certainly coming back also, so that's always a huge deal. Gabriel says this is huge. When it was announced he was coming back, I was expecting him to play a different Doc Ock in the MCU, but since it looks like he's playing the old Doc Ock, this might confirm Spider-Verse. Yeah, I definitely do think that this is Sony's opportunity to go ahead and finally bring everybody together.
Or which show are we? An interesting dynamic. Does anybody remember in Endgame and what happened with Nebula? You know what I'm saying? As she started to see the memories of her future self or different self.
Oh, that version of Nebula was killed, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but I was just thinking, what if it's something where you can get pulled into a current, multiverse situation and start to have memory flashes of, yourself, the you that was there in that, had colliding personalities. Because Gabriel also said one thing I don't get is, wouldn't he be a good guy if he came back as Spider-Man 2 Doc Ock, because he got his redemption at the end of the movie. So what if it was something where, that happened and he's got different things going on in his head? He ends up. I'm just thinking about what would be a great story.
I would That's a good point. I mean, who knows? Maybe he did redeem himself, but maybe it's his tentacles that haven't quite been redeemed, right? Like maybe they still have a mind of their own, and maybe it's a Doc Ock that's not, I don't want to say suffering or going through this, but maybe there is some still control over him, to say the least. But that's a good point, though.
Ultron gets inside of Doc Ock's tentacles.
Yeah, starts using it. You never know, man. You never know. Let's see here. Oh, and speaking of Spider-Man, MJ's in the house, saying I really like that aspect about Marvel, that they cast young and unfamiliar faces. Yeah, I do like that aspect about them. But I'm glad that they're going back to a fan favorite in here. I think Alfred Molina is just a brilliant actor. And anytime, I mean, just from his time in Spider-Man 2, one of the reasons why I love this character so much was just his interactions with Peter Parker. The idea of him being a mentor and wanting to teach him something, but then unfortunately having that tragic accident that wind up turning him evil. But yeah, I think if anything, he's such a solid actor. That's the one person that you definitely would want to have return for sure.
Mm-hmm. My thing is, if you're not, if somebody does get upset that if they were going to recast Alfred, and I didn't see an uproar of people like not upset about it, then can't nobody be upset about Black Panther being recast. The people weren't upset about Blade being recast. You know what I'm saying? So like this is just an amazing thing that they could bring him back. And it'd be even better if they brought him back and still with bringing him back was able to recast for the future, because it is Spider-Verse. You could show us two different versions of Doc Ock in the same movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I mean, even I can't remember if you brought this up one time, Indy, or not, or whoever might have. Maybe the idea of like a superior Spider-Man. The idea of maybe getting a younger Doc Ock at some particular point in time to go on and become a version of a Spider-Man somewhere down the line would be pretty neat. So I would definitely be open to a recasting of a Doc Ock in the future if that's the role that Sony certainly wanted to play. But for this particular movie, when you are kind of involving more of the multiverse, I think the fact that Alfred Molina has come out and confirmed that he's definitely in this, yeah, this is going to be pretty epic, because I do believe Jamie Foxx did come out a while ago and confirm it, but then had to delete it off of his Instagram immediately afterwards. So this is probably our first confirmation that we actually have in regards to how big this movie probably is going to be. So I'm really pleased. But guys, listen, at the end of the day, we definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts. You hear Alfred Molina talk a little bit about the idea of de-aging him, which I'm really hoping that technology is ready for that for Alfred Molina here, along with just how he certainly might come back, guys. We definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts in regards to it in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move over to our next topic here. We'll transition over to some DC news because it seems as though Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, is picking up momentum. It's definitely picking up steam. A couple of weeks ago, we wind up highlighting the idea that Helen Mirren has been cast to go ahead and play one of the villains in the upcoming Shazam sequel. But it seems as though Shazam is not only going to have one villain, but definitely two, if not more at this point in time. As of this week, ladies and gentlemen, a second villain has in fact been announced, and that is going to be the lovely and talented Lucy Liu, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and bring up this article. This one is from The Hollywood Reporter, giving us a little bit more insight into this exclusive report here. So it says Lucy Liu joins Helen Mirren in the Shazam sequel. Great photo of her here. It says Zachary Levi is reprising his role as the DC hero. Lucy Liu, who has spent several years in television with such shows as Why Women Kill and Elementary, is headed to the big screen, joining the cast of a New Line's big budget DC movie Shazam, Fury of the Gods. The sequel once again stars Zachary Levi as the adult version of teenager Billy Batson, who transforms into a superhero. And we have David Sandberg is in fact back as director. It says plot details of the Henry Gayden script are being kept in a cave of a subway tunnel, but New Line announced that Lucy Liu will play a villainess named Calypso. The character is the second daughter of Atlantis, one of the titans of ancient Greece, and one of the A's in Shazam, the acronym of ancient gods and heroes. The character is also the sister to Hespera, the villain character that is being played by the already cast Helen Mirren. So it seems as though Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are going to be villain sisters in this Shazam sequel, to certainly say the least. The movie is set to go ahead and be released June 2nd, 2023. So again, while storyline details are being kept under wraps, we already have Helen Mirren as Hespera, and we do have Lucy Liu, who's going to be playing Calypso. Both are in fact daughters of the Greek god Atlas. So I kind of like first off, I love me some Lucy Liu. I don't think you can get wrong with having Lucy Liu on board here. But let me throw this over to you first, Stuart. You hear this news that Lucy Liu is going to be part of Shazam. What's your thoughts of the sequel going into Shazam and just her casting for this role?
I'm definitely excited. She was probably my favorite character in the Kill Bill movies. Yeah, or I guess she was only in the first one, but yeah, either way, she was definitely my favorite in the first Kill Bill movie. So her playing a villain in this movie definitely gets me excited for sure. I don't know a lot about her character from the comic books, so most of this is just going to be new for me going in. But yeah, I'm definitely really excited not only to see like how she does, but also to see her interaction with the other characters from the upcoming Shazam movie. My only concern, and it's not with her, it's just with the movie in general, is that you said it's coming out 2023, right?
Correct.
So that's 4 years after it came out in 2019. And I guess the problem is that a lot of the actors in the movie are really young. So it's going to be really weird to see if they try to tell us that, oh yeah, it's only been like 1 or 2 years since the events of the first movie, but like clearly the kids will look way older than that. So that's the only thing that kind of like worries me in terms of like how they go about the story. But in terms of casting Lucy Liu as a villain, I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I know when it comes to villain wise, I believe they've mentioned the idea that while we do have an Atlas character in DC Comics, I don't necessarily know if that character has daughters. I thought I heard the idea of Hespera being more of an original character that they're kind of creating. I'm not too familiar with the Atlas character. I think. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the Atlas character, so these might actually be original characters that they're creating for Shazam. I'm not quite sure, but based off of how the first movie ended and we get in the Shazam family, I guess the idea of there being actually more than just one villain probably seems pretty logical at this point, because I don't think Shazam's going to be handling these guys by themselves. Andy, let me throw this over to you first. I don't know if you're familiar with the DC comic book character in Atlas, but can you confirm or deny whether or not he actually has daughters in that particular in the comic books or not? But I thought I did read that they were actually original characters. And then just what are your thoughts in regards to Lucy Liu joining this project? Oh, I think you're muted.
I'm excited for Lucy Liu to join the project. Look at me, look at me. I've been gone so long, I don't remember how to hide anymore. Nah, her joining the project is awesome. Everything she's ever attached her name to basically was successful. You know what I'm saying? Like, her tying herself to something, especially something like this, that seems a little bit out of our wheelhouse when it comes to comic book movies. I always saw her as something more serious. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe the next Daredevil movie, or you know, just something that lent itself to more acting. As to say, you know what I'm saying, having the funnies with it. As we call it over here in the biz of potting in Indiana, I guess the funnies. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So yeah, that's not gonna become a thing. I want it to become a thing, but it's not gonna become a thing. So I'm all for it. As far as I know, unless there was something that was redone in the current, you know what I'm saying, comics and everything that's coming out, because you know they change all the time. Changes everything every 2 years.
Every 2 years, yeah.
So I don't remember Atlas having daughters at all. So this could be something that's original, or it could be something that they know that is going to come to the comics soon and just decided to put it out, you know what I'm saying, movie-wise first. Or it might be something that's going to be taken from the movies and adapted for the comics. That happens a lot. It happened with Nick Fury.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? A bunch of things like that. So it's happened with Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which gets adapted into stuff. So we'll see what happens. Man, Lucy Liu is amazing. I'm all for it, and I am looking forward to this movie. But I do have the same concern that Stuart has about them taking too long for this sequel to come out. It doesn't have the same issues as Aquaman 2 and everything's going to have. But they'll probably do a time skip. If it comes to the movies coming out, it's going to be a time jump. The kids will look older. You can't have them sophomores in high school looking like they're, you know what I'm saying, early college years. This can't be a Spider-Man 1 and 2 thing. Kids nowadays look like they're 30 when they're 12. There's no way to get past that anymore. You know what I'm saying? People can't look like Tobey Maguire and just look like he's 17 for his entire life. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, these kids look like they're grown-ass men these days. Like, you're in what, 8th grade? Oh my goodness, I thought you had like your college degree and everything already. Yeah, definitely, for sure. I would be curious if there is in fact a time jump. Maybe a couple of years have passed by. Maybe Shazam has had a couple of years of superheroing under his belt, to say the least. For me, I always loved Lucy Liu. I remember her mostly from her time. Like, I fell in love with Lucy Liu back in her like Charlie's Angels days, for sure. Back then, teaming up with Cameron Diaz and Drew Barrymore and things like that. But I also remember her from a great movie. If people recall, I don't even know how many people watched this movie. Lucky Number 11, I think it was called. It had Josh Hartnett and Bruce Willis in it. Just a great movie in regards to just amazing twists and turns and things like that. But so Lucy Liu's always been a fan favorite of mine. You know, I've never. I'm trying to remember what else I've certainly seen her in. Elementary was always great for her also. I didn't even realize how long she actually had been a part of that show. But the fact that she stuck around for so long definitely worked to her benefit, for sure. But I've always wanted to see her kind of be more involved with movies, because it just definitely does seem that she kind of stuck around in TV for quite some time. So the fact that she is now kind of coming back to the big screen, I think is great for her. You know, the fact that I also feel like she definitely picks her choices of things that she wants to be in really very wisely, you know, maybe something that just kind of fits her her personality perfectly. And so the fact that she is attaching herself to something like Shazam that's a little bit more lighthearted, that does have a comedy aspect to it, I think she could definitely bring something to the table, especially if she's going to be teaming up with somebody like Helen Mirren. I think those two ladies will make a really great combination to kind of see what kind of fits they certainly give somebody like Shazam, to certainly say the least. So I'm expecting Lucy Liu to definitely bring her comedic aspect to things also, but also her great experience just in action and just some of the television dramas that she's certainly been in. So really great talent. I don't think you can go wrong by adding talent to something like a Shazam movie. And while we do have the actual director coming back, I can't remember. I know they mentioned let me see, who did they mention as the writer? I know they mentioned the writer in here. Henry Gayden wrote the script for this one. I don't know if he's the same person that wrote the script for the first one or not. But if he is a different writer than the first one, I am really interested to see how they keep that comedy aspect. But do they take that comedy and they start turning more drama side of things? Or is Shazam always going to be sort of that fixture for the comedic side of the DCEU? But regardless, I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is a great casting choice, honestly, overall, though.
It is the same writer from the first movie, or at least one of the same writers from the first movie.
Gabriel says, what if the story is set in present day, as in 2021? That way age doesn't play a big factor. The characters could age in real time. Yeah, possibly. I don't... yeah, if anything, and that's one of the reasons why I would be curious if Shazam has been doing his superhero thing since the last time that we've seen him, you know, if there is a time jump.
Yeah, and if they do that, I'd be totally okay with it. The concern really more came to, I don't see DC doing that, because like it being like a family of superheroes and all of them being really young is what kind of made the movies very marketable for kids. So I don't know if DC would want to lose that aspect of the movie.
Can we de-age the kids? Are we at that point yet? No?
They did it with what was the movie? It, I believe. With It too, the kids. Yeah, with It too, like even though it was only a year apart with filming, all the kids puberty, so they had to de-age them.
That's crazy. I did not know that. I was joking. I had no idea. That's pretty cool, though. That's pretty cool. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to a Shazam 2. You know, the first one, I enjoyed it. It didn't blow me away. I thought it had some really great elements. Like I love the family dynamic it had. I thought the comedy was pretty good. I'm not the biggest Zachary Levi fan in the world, but I really enjoyed what he did with this particular role, and actually made me a Zachary Levi fan after seeing how he came across as Shazam in here. So I would like to see this series, or the sequel, kind of take that next step forward. You know, like we've had that moment of something smaller and intimate and family related and getting to know these characters. I'm cool with expanding it just a little bit more here. So I think the idea of somebody like a Helen Mirren and a Lucy Liu definitely probably lends to that a little bit.
How old is Lucy Liu?
I don't know, but she continues to look great. Let me see. You know, like she doesn't age at all. Let me see.
Ron Perlman, I think Ron Perlman,
she's 52.
Like yeah,
she's 52. Cameron Diaz is 48. Drew Barrymore's 46. So, yeah, I feel like the Charlie's Angels are aging really well.
Well,
at least Lucy Liu for you.
Yeah,
that Hollywood serum that they give to a lot of their famous actors.
Yeah.
For real. Quick shout out to Adrian Perez, brother from another mother here. He says, hello, amigos. Good to see you in here. But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. Lucy Liu from Charlie's Angels fame, from Elementary fame, back in the spotlight here for a DCEU movie, joining the cast of Shazam 2. What are your guys' thoughts? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, guys, we'll move on to our next topic for the day. As you know, we just talked about this movie franchise last week, actually, as casting has actually, well, I don't want to say casting has begun. They probably already have the people in mind that they certainly want for this movie, but the announcements are certainly at least coming out now. And if you ask me, this puts this movie in a really great position to actually start filming when it says it's going to, guys. Let's dive back into some Indiana Jones 5 news. This one actually comes to us from Deadline.com, letting us know that when it comes to casting for Indiana Jones 5, it is in fact full steams ahead, guys. They're not pulling any punches here. This one comes to us from Deadline.com, letting us know that Indiana Jones 5, Mads Mikkelsen joins Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge in the sequel. We've been wondering who else was certainly going to be joining this cast, and now we have an additional member. It says, following the news that Waller-Bridge has landed the female lead in the next Indiana Jones movie, Lucasfilm has found Harrison Ford's next co-star in Mads Mikkelsen, who is set to join the next installment. James Mangold is taking over directing reins from Steven Spielberg, who is still serving as a producer and very much involved in the various elements of the film. It says John Williams is coming back for the score also, which is pretty impressive. But it says the hope is to start production this summer, with Mangold meeting with other talent for other roles in preparation for production. Plot details are still vague on what the new adventure awaits Jones, as details behind who Mikkelsen will play is being kept under wraps. It says the film is set to bow in July 29th of 2022. So, you know, if I could be honest with you guys, I don't know if this movie is going to make its deadline of July 29th, 2022. I mean, that's just a little bit over a year away. Is it possible? Yeah, probably. But it definitely seems like that I wouldn't be surprised if we get at least one more pushback for this particular film. But if I could be honest with you guys, I love this choice of having Mads Mikkelsen involved, honestly. You know, I loved him in Rogue One. And for me, Mads Mikkelsen certainly made his statement when I first saw him back in the James Bond movie Casino Royale as the villain. I thought he was just a menacing villain, to certainly say the least. I really loved what he provided, and I just think he's just a phenomenal actor. Like, while I know that they certainly haven't talked about the idea of what role he's going to play in Indiana Jones 5, when I see Mads Mikkelsen, I just think villain. You know, I just think he would just make a fantastic foil to somebody like a Harrison Ford, who, you know, he could definitely keep up with as far as acting chops go. Physically, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing these two duke it out, probably with the stunt man and a CGI face of Harrison Ford on a body or whatever the case may be. Although, you know, to give Harrison Ford credit, he seems like he's still in pretty good shape for his age. So I'm really looking forward to this film, and I think the idea of having Mads Mikkelsen just continues to give me confidence that this movie talent wise is going to be incredible. But now that we do have two people that have been announced for casting, this really gives me hope that this movie is actually happening in to start actually filming this upcoming summer, because otherwise I don't necessarily think if Disney would allow some of this this information to get out in regards to who's been cast for these particular roles. So for me, this gives me confidence that this movie's actually happening. I mean, I'll still keep my fingers crossed. I'll see it when I believe, I'll believe it when I see it, type of thing, when they actually get in front of the cameras. But these announcements that are slowly coming out, I mean, I feel like it's been 2 weeks back to back we've gotten casting news. I'm getting excited for this movie, guys. I don't know if it's going to make its deadline, but I definitely do feel as though it'll probably start filming this upcoming summer. But let me go ahead and throw this over to you, Indy, real quick. You hear the idea of Mads Mikkelsen joining Harrison Ford as part of this cast. Who do you think he's going to play, if anything? Hero or villain, or and what are your thoughts of him just joining this this film in general?
Have you ever looked at Mads' face? Like, have you ever really just sat and just looked at his face?
Just stared at him?
What about his face, if you're not talking about something set in the age of Game of Thrones, says hero?
Right? I mean, you just look at him, he's like, he make a great villain, right?
Yeah. He's the person you walk in he's the person that walks in and reads for Han Solo, right? And then you go, nah, bro. Nah, that's Darth Maul for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't be a hero when you look like this. Nothing against him. The man is not, you know what I'm saying, like an unattractive man or something like that. But just even that smile that he has in this picture, and like,
he's plotting something, right?
Yeah, this is just the means for my takeover of the world. Like it's just crazy. He has to play a villain opposite of, you know what I'm saying, my man Harrison Ford, because I feel like he would be the perfect foil for this type of situation. You know what I'm saying? Because that's honestly, to me, when it comes to Indiana Jones, and as good as Harrison Ford is in those particular roles, you know what I'm saying, when he plays them, the movie's only as good as the villain. Great. That's why I feel that a lot of the Indiana Jones movies, people feel like a hit and miss because the villains aren't good. You know what I'm saying? When you get a foil that can combat your hero at an epic level, think about it. The Avengers and Thanos, you know what I'm saying? Even the Justice League and Darkseid for what it was. You know, that Darkseid made us sit through another movie. You know what I'm saying? That we had already saw. So that was an incredible villain to bring us back into that movie and have us sit for 4 hours to see him for 15 minutes, right? Every hero that we love right now has had an incredible villain, especially on screen. You know, so for this movie to be successful, the villain has to be, if not as interesting, more interesting than Indy itself, in order to make this movie successful. Because I know that Adam probably is. Stuart might even be. I don't know how many people are actually like, yeah, Indiana Jones 5, let's go with it. Green light that. We need that now. Because I don't know, I am. Like, at all. Like, I want a continue. I would rather have another Solo movie than, you know what I'm saying, that, because that cast of that Solo movie was amazing. But with Mads in here, it at least makes me want to click on buy now on HBO Max.
I get you. Oh. Yeah, no, when it comes to Indiana Jones, like I just don't want the last thing I remember of Indiana Jones to be Kingdom of Crystal Skull. You know, I do feel like they have at least maybe one more good one in them, and I do think the idea of having somebody like a James Mangold, who again did Logan, Ford v Ferrari, along with a couple of other things, some really great movies under his belt. If there is anybody to kind of push that Indiana Jones franchise to like one last good movie to kind of round out this franchise, I do think it is James Mangold. So I think for me alone, who they have attached to it definitely gets me more excited for it. And I've always loved the Indiana Jones role, especially Harrison Ford playing it. Homeboy's just getting older by the day sort of thing. So I'm just like, don't hurry. but just give me one more good Indiana Jones 5 movie, and I'll be a happy camper, honestly. But you're right, Indy. When I look at Mads Mikkelsen, I automatically just think villain. It's hard for me to kind of separate him from the Casino Royale villain that we wind up getting from James Bond. But it is. I mean, he has at least played a really great good villain, a good hero or good person, I should say. Especially in Rogue One, you get the opportunity to see him in there also, which again I think is just really his talent and his acting prowess. Just I feel like he could play any particular role that he certainly wants to. But yeah, anytime I look at Mads Mikkelsen, though, I just automatically think villain for sure. But let me throw this over to you, Stuart. What are your thoughts in regards to Mads being brought on to Indiana Jones 5 here?
I'm definitely with you guys. He's got to be a villain. Just, you know,
at least when you think of him in the Indiana Jones world, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just I think of you know, Hannibal, and I think to myself, is that really a show or is it a documentary secretly? But yeah, all joking aside, no, I do look forward to his involvement in it, because my assumption, just because Indiana Jones seems like the type of movie franchise where it's like, if you want to harken back to really old movie tropes, I think he'd be perfect for that role where he's Indiana Jones's friend, but he's so very clearly the villain, and yet like none of the good guys see it coming, but like everyone watching the movie clearly sees it coming. If they really want to harken back to those old school movies that thought they were being clever, I feel like he's the perfect villain for that.
Yeah, and it also makes me wonder, like, is this going to be a period piece? I'm assuming this probably is, right? It's probably going to take place maybe in the 70s, you know, maybe late 60s. I'm not quite sure, but I just feel like, especially if you're going to be doing a period piece of a different time period, Matt, you just put a nice clean suit on Mads. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he definitely going to be the villain, guys. If he's not the villain, I would be even surprised if he certainly wasn't. But I'm really looking forward to this regardless, though. Gabriel does say a couple things here. He says Mads is a very versatile actor. He can play a great villain like in Casino Royale or Doctor Strange. That's right. He was in Doctor Strange also, wasn't he? But he can also play a good guy like in Rogue One, The Hunt, or Another Round. Yeah, he's definitely that talented to be able to play either or. And he did say he just learned that Mads did the voice for Randall in the Danish dubbed of Monster Inc. I had no idea about that. That's pretty cool. Fun fact there, Gabriel. Thank you, man. But listen, guys, we want to know your thoughts at the end of the day. What's your excitement level for an Indiana Jones 5? Do you even want one? And if you didn't, now that you got the casting that's been announced, does this get you maybe even more excited for one? We definitely want to go ahead and let your thoughts be known. And do you think Mads is going to be playing a good guy or a villain in this upcoming role? So definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys. And with that one out of the way, I guess we'll move on to our second half of stories. We got 3 more topics that we're going to be breaking down for you. And this one is going to be a little bit in Indy's wheelhouse, as he just got off of talking some anime assembled yesterday for you guys. But in the world of anime turning into live action, it seems as though we've been kind of hoping for this movie to eventually be made. I feel like over the past couple of years, we've heard some sort of movement, but it seems as though it's kind of fallen off a little bit. But now we got even more information in regards to this upcoming anime series turning into live action, and that is in fact Gundam, ladies and gentlemen. Not only is Japan getting ready to launch their very first live Gundam to actually have some movement and produce an actual robot for us, which they are currently working on. Does anybody know when that launches of that Gundam wing by any chance? No? None of you guys?
I have no idea.
Have you seen pictures of it at least?
I have. I've seen videos of it all over the internet. It's one of the coolest freaking things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it looks pretty badass. So the fact that they're actually trying to build a Gundam, I feel like this just means it's a perfect time for a live action Gundam. And so, guys, this actually comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter this week, letting us know that when it comes to live action Gundam movie, Netflix lands another one, guys. I feel like we've just been talking about Netflix landing a bunch of franchises and big IP to go ahead and stream on their service, and they grabbed another one here. We've heard for a while the idea of a Gundam movie teaming up with Legendary to actually happen, and Netflix has landed a live action Gundam movie. It says with Jordan Vogt Roberts set to go ahead and direct. Brian K. Vaughan is set to write the Legendary project, which definitely gives me hope. So it says Netflix has landed Legendary's planned live action Gundam, now with Kong Skull Island director Jordan Vaught Roberts and Brian Vaughn attached. Vaught Roberts will produce and direct from a script by Vaughn, who is also executive producing. It says the original Gundam series, which began in 1979, is set in the Universal Century, an era in which people have emigrated to space colonies because of a growing population on Earth. Eventually, the people living in the colonies seek their autonomy and launch a war of independence against the people of Earth. Battles are fought by piloting robots known as mobile suits. It does say here that the massive popular series has led to a multi-billion-dollar sale in merchandising and licensing, including animated films, video games, plastic models, toys, and books, and etc. Let's see here. Vaught's the last feature was 2017 Kong's Skull Island. And then, of course, Brian Vaughn is currently working on a series adaptation, live action series adaptation for his Y the Last Man series that I believe is going to be going over to FX as well. So this movie has been talked about for quite some time of actually happening here. If I'm not mistaken, I do believe the people behind a Gundam in regards to the animated production studio and Sunrise is co-producing this movie along with Legendary as well. So it's not just Legendary probably coming into Hollywood up this movie a little bit. It does seem as though they are at least going back to the original source material, at least co-producing with the Sunrise animated studio as well. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think that Netflix continues to impress me. I don't know how much they actually spent to land this live action Gundam movie. I mean, they spent over $400 million just to get Rian Johnson's Knives Out sequels onto their streaming service. So I would be kind of curious to know how much money they actually put forward for this Gundam movie. But let me throw this over to you first, Indy. You hear the idea of Netflix getting this movie, Legendary and Sunrise co-producing this together. You've got somebody like the Kong Skull Island directing this movie along with Brian Vaughn writing it. What are your thoughts in regards to hearing all this information?
Real bout. I'm excited. To me, it's not as much surprise that Netflix landed this, because Netflix has been landing all of the live action anime movies, whether good or bad. Probably, I think the best one they had was Bleach. Was probably the best done one that they did. They've had some very, very bad ones, but Gundam seems like it's the easiest to pull off with other big robot, you know what I'm saying, movies that did really well, whether it's Pacific Rim. There was the movie that had Wolverine in it. I don't remember it, but the boxing robot.
Oh, Real Steel?
Real Steel. I said Real Bout because I'm thinking of Fatal Fury, my bad. But Real Steel. And it to me, it could be done a little bit easier, but they have to remember. And the thing about Gundam too is not necessarily about the robots, like Godzilla versus Kong. You know what I'm saying? That's more about the kaiju than it is about the people. The dope thing about a Gundam story is literally a war of attrition. You know what I'm saying? It's somebody fighting for their independence and somebody fighting against that. And instead of using tanks, planes, and, you know, soldiers, they're using, you know what I'm saying, Gundams. They're piloting Gundams to do it. So if the story is told right, and the thing that I love about a Gundam story too is that a Gundam story doesn't necessarily have to be a story that we saw, because every story is different. They could do a totally original, you know what I'm saying, story and just catch with something like that. But if they really want to make a lot of money, they would adapt something like Gundam Wing and adapt that into live action. And we don't care how bad it is, we will watch it. We might criticize it, but we will watch it over and over again. So I'm all for this. And this is actually a very big move for Netflix, because Gundam is one of the anime and manga that cease to slow down. We have it feels like we have a new Gundam every year. There's a new Gundam series. It's a couple of Gundam series every year.
A few.
The Gundam properties, whether it's Dynasty Warriors Gundam, you know what I'm saying, different Gundam fighting game. Like we're enamored with getting inside of big robots and blowing stuff up. Just like you said in Japan, the launch of the big robot thing, that was actually, I believe, a gimmick for an attraction that they set up. It's like a restaurant AR experience where you can like get inside the Gundam and, you know what I'm saying, do like a whole virtual AR thing. That I believe
That's
is
cool.
I think it's at like Yashimita Pier or something like that. And I know it's running through like March, I think next year. So it was like a big thing, and they did that whole, oh, we're launching this to walk, you know, to move around as a whole promotional thing for it, because like when you get inside you actually feel like you're inside a Gundam and operating and stuff like that. It's something that I wanted to go and partake in, but you know, the way COVID works, it's probably something that I'm going to miss, which pisses me off greatly. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this happens. And if you listen to Besso, you know, we're probably soon going to be having Gundams and stuff like that. So he's walking around on stages inside of giant robots. Yeah, leave it to the owner at Amazon to put money into getting ready to destroy the world.
I do love the idea that you brought up, just the concept of like what storylines they could tackle, right? Because there are so many different iterations of Gundams over the years. It does feel like there's like a new animated series that comes out all the time. Is it in this timeline? Is it in this timeline? Sort of thing. So for me, I personally dig the idea of just the original concept. I mean, like that sounds really appealing to me. The idea that even though we do have these big, gigantic robots, that you still make it about the people, right, and their struggle and their fight for independence. I think storyline wise, that's probably pretty gripping, and I think people could probably relate to that more, especially the idea of wanting to colonize, you know, other planets, whether it be the moon or Mars. I feel like that's one of the next endeavors here that if not Elon Musk, then maybe, you know, NASA, NASA's thinking about probably doing also. So it doesn't feel like it's that far off, if you will. I mean, it is far off, but it's their next sort of set of plans. So the idea that you can maybe sink your teeth into a storyline that kind of connects to something along those lines, I would really like to see something like that, honestly. But there's definitely a ton of possibilities that they could certainly do here also. Stuart, let me go ahead and throw this over to you. You hear Brian Vaughn's writing it. You've got the director of Kong Skull Island coming to go ahead and direct this. Do you think that creative team will do justice for a series like this? And what do you think about Netflix picking this up?
I have no doubt that it's at least going to be a fun series. I don't know how it's going to be in terms of like fans feeling about it, like whether or not it respects the source material. But I do think that regardless, people who watch it are going to have like an absolutely great time. What I hope they do, and I was thinking about this the entire time when we're talking about the article, is I feel like there's an easy way they could totally pull this off if they use enough like of a green screen, like in in several different angles. Basically, they got to pay for like the biggest green screen ever. But if they were to go to Japan, film the actual Gundam that's there in Japan, have it like make a couple of different poses, that would be probably one of the coolest things to have in your TV series. Or sorry, cool. This is a movie. My bad. In a movie, like you get an actual like I think the thing is like what 60 feet tall, right?
It looks bigger than that. That shit looks like it's a couple stories. Yeah.
Yeah, either way, it would be the first movie that can actually say they had a giant robot as their prop within the movie. So I'm really hoping that's what they do. My fingers are kind of crossed, but regardless though, I do think this is going to be a really fun project. And of course, you know me, I love monster battles. I love giant robots duking it out. So I'm definitely going to have fun. The only Gundam series I've personally watched was Gundam Wing. So I'm definitely with Indian saying if they did a live action adaptation of Gundam Wing, I would have been definitely all for that. But that said, you know, even though I've never watched any of the other Gundam series, I have always found like the action figures or just the modeling kits that they give you with them. I've always enjoyed like
those
doing that cool. Because
yeah,
they are really fun to like put together. So, you know, I'll definitely watch it because I love the Gundam design.
I will say this, Stuart, just looking it up. How tall is the Gundam? There is a website here. In the series,
18 meters.
Yeah, it says 59 feet. Yeah, 18 meters, 59 feet. So you're right on the money there with that one, man.
Yeah. So if they were to purchase a really, really big green screen and then a huge crane with the camera so they could like film up and down, maybe from a distance, get like the Gundam doing a bunch of different poses. They could like have legit like the first movie with an actual giant robot as their prop. Like obviously you couldn't use it for battles or anything like that, but it would be
just
cool,
for like certain shots, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you need a shot where it's an exterior shot of the suit and it's not like it's not turned on, it's not online yet, but you need an exterior shot of like the characters looking at the suit, that'd be the perfect way to do it.
I would definitely be on board for that for sure. I really would. I'm actually really excited for Brian Vaughn and the director to be attached to this. I think Brian Vaughn just has a great mind. I mean, he's done some incredible work, not only just comic book wise, but I think even adapting some stuff for TV and movies. Like I think he is transitioning more into being a screenwriter these days. So I'm really glad that he's highlighting his talent that way, not only just from great comic book series, but now into more live action stuff too. And for me, I just think when you're talking about just gigantic monsters or gigantic robots to be involved, if there's anybody that knows how to do action really, really well in that sense, it's definitely the guy from Kong Skull Island. So I think action wise, I think this will definitely be up there for sure. But and then adding that with the amazing writing from Brian Vaughn, who I think could really sink his teeth into some just great topics to talk about and bring up in this movie, some really great characters and storyline depth. I think it could be a really nice mixture in here. So I think Netflix landed them again, another fantastic IP here. They're definitely not shy in regards to spending that money to keep themselves relevant, to certainly say the least. And I think this is another way to fantastically do that for sure. He's on fire right now. First Metal Gear, and now this. Oh, is he doing a Metal Gear Solid movie or series?
Oh, I forgot that was I forgot he was the one who was in charge of that.
Oh, dang! I did not even know that. Thank you very much for that heads up, Gabriel. I didn't know he had a hand in that.
He's gonna take all the stuff. He will do all the stuff Japan finds sacred.
right. Hey, as long as you're doing a good job on it, man, keep up the good work. So I'm pumped for it. I think it'll be a solid film, but we'll definitely see when it actually winds up being released. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move over to our next topic here. We'll actually stick in the realm of Netflix, but instead of live action, we're gonna move over to the animated side of things. Now, this was a series that I really enjoyed for its first season. Growing up as a kid, I was always a big Castlevania fan, playing it on my Nintendo, having to blow off that cartridge a couple times to get the game to actually work. But I was always a big fan of Castlevania growing up as a kid. So to kind of see the idea of Netflix taking advantage of that IP, turning it into an anime series for them, I thought was gold, honestly. And it, for the first couple of seasons, it definitely got its recognition for being just an amazing series over on Netflix. But it does seem as though, unfortunately, when it comes to Netflix, that Castlevania's time as a series may certainly be coming to an end, but it doesn't mean that Netflix doesn't have plans moving forward for it. So let's go ahead and dive into this article that we wind up getting. This one is from deadline.com, letting us know that when it comes to Castlevania, it is in fact set to end with season 4 as Netflix eyes a new series in the same universe. I actually found this as a really interesting article for a couple of reasons. So let's go ahead and discuss this real quick, guys. It says exclusive, the upcoming 10-episode 4th season of Netflix anime series Castlevania will be its last, is what Deadline has learned. It will premiere on May 13th. So season 4, guys, May 13th on Netflix. While Castlevania, based on the classic Konami video game, will be coming to an end, the world it created may live on. I hear Netflix is eyeing a new series set in the same Castlevania universe with an entirely new cast of characters. It does say here the show's second season scored 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and even landed an IGN award for Best Animated Series in 2018. Now, it does say the series was created by author and prolific comic book writer Warren Ellis, a fantastic author for sure, who served as a writer and executive producer. Unfortunately, last summer, Ellis, who at the time had finished the scripts for season 4, faced sexual misconduct allegations, which he firmly denied. He has had no further involvement in Castlevania, and I hear he also has not been part of the conversations about a potential new show, which likely won't include him as a creative auspice. So again, guys, so while season 4 of Castlevania is wrapping up, Netflix seemingly has plans for future shows in that universe, unfortunately without Warren Ellis attached to it in regards to its creative process. So for me, again, while I really enjoyed the first season of Castlevania, I haven't really kept up with it, unfortunately. I heard some people say that they kind of felt like season 3 maybe fell off just a little bit. So I'm not quite sure exactly what the anticipation level certainly is when it comes to Castlevania season 4. But I think the idea, like if you have established a really great sort of universe to kind of dabble in, I mean, we've known that Castlevania has gone on to, especially video game wise, to have other sequels and prequels and all that good stuff. So there's plenty of characters for them to certainly focus on if they certainly wanted to when expanding this universe. My worry and my concern just simply comes with, if you had somebody like a Warren Ellis who knows this universe well, has really built up these characters and built this world, no longer involved, especially not even in the conversation, it definitely feels as though Netflix is kind of has this mindset of, hey, this is a moneymaker franchise for us, right? Even though season 4 is going to be concluded, you know, we can't stop there, right? We have to kind of come up with our own ideas and really use this IP to our advantage to hopefully continue to bring in those big bucks sort of thing. So I am a little bit worried that we are getting now maybe a new creative team, Netflix tapping into this particular world, maybe not with that same sort of creative influence that Warren Ellis brought to the table sort of thing. So I am kind of curious to know what Netflix's vision is going to be. And I will be fascinated to see who, if anything, they would have in mind for a showrunner for the upcoming Castlevania new series that we wind up getting here. So I am going to be a little bit hesitant in regards to my excitement level for what they do in this universe with new content, because for me, it's really going to be dependent. Like if we're not bringing Warren Ellis back, who really helped create this fan favorite series over on Netflix, I do want to know who they wind up planning on bringing in, and if that same person is going to have that same impact that Warren Ellis certainly did. But I think the idea of at least embarking on new storylines and new stories, you know, if you're trying to keep this this franchise afloat, is a good idea. But I think, again, for me, it's I'm going to be a little bit hesitant until I see who actually is going to be the showrunner. But let me go ahead and throw this over to you first, Stuart. Well, first off, were you a big fan when it comes to the Castlevania series over on Netflix? And what do you think about the news of them wanting to go ahead and continue with this series past the Castlevania season 4? Are you muted? I think you're muted. I think you're muted again. There you go.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So yeah, I did see the first season. However, I kind of fell out of the series after it. I don't know why. Not that I lost interest. I just, for some reason, never really got back into it, but I probably should before this new season comes out. But yeah, it is a really cool show, and I could definitely see it having a lot of potential for spin-off shows, especially because the Castlevania series in general with the video games has just a lot of lore behind it, you know, because you go from just kind of being this interesting Victorian London horror franchise to, like, you know, you look at some of the more recent games and they're all taking place in modern times, each of them following a completely different person, some of them related to Simon Belmont, some of them being completely unrelated characters. So I see a lot of potential with the series going forward, and I hope that they have like one of the spinoff shows taking place in modern times. But as for like Warren Ellis like leaving the series, you know, I got to be honest, I didn't even realize he was like the head writer of the series. I always thought it was I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name, so I apologize. I always thought it was Addy Schnacker. I am sorry, however that's pronounced. I always thought he was the head of it because I know he's always been on the creative team from the beginning of it. So assuming that he hasn't done anything to get himself fired, as long as he's still involved with it, I think it is going to be I think it could still like feel like it's still part of that same franchise. And yeah, I apologize for butchering that name. I have no idea how the last name's pronounced.
No, I mean, but you make a good point, though. I mean, if they do have somebody that's like co-writing or co-head writer or whatever the case may be, that's maybe worked underneath Warren Ellis, maybe now this guy gets a promotion. You know what I mean? To top writer, and still being able to kind of give us that same feeling that we wind up having from the Castlevania series. So you definitely do make a good point there. Let me throw this over to you, Indy. How far into Castlevania have you certainly gotten into the series if you have watched it? And if so, what is your thoughts about the series and the idea of Netflix maybe doing more without Warren Ellis involved?
Regrettably, I watched it all. And I don't mean that's a bad thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean that as the show started to disinterest me after season 2 when Dracula died. So it's
that's the one thing that I hear too. That's the one thing that I hear is like after season 2, it kind of falls off.
Yeah, it just seemed like they haven't been able to. Again, we just talked about this when we were talking about films. They haven't been able to properly give us what we wanted without a prominent villain. And it's not that it has to be Dracula; it just has to be a villain. You know what I'm saying? That's good. And while they're working on multiple villains, multiple threats on different levels and what's going on, none of them seem like they're going to have too much of a problem on dealing with that when they figure out who and what it is. You know, they don't really feel like a threat as of what Dracula was and the backstory. And Castlevania has always been that, you know what I'm saying, Belmont's against, you know what I'm saying, Dracula. It's just missing that thing that tied it to be such goodness as what it was. You know what I'm saying? And for anime series, it doesn't have the punch of something that like a Vampire Hunter D or anything like that had. That maybe this would have been better as a couple of movies rather than seasons, you know what I'm saying, of a show. And it would have made a little bit more sense. I am more keen for the spinoff to see what they do with that than I'm kind of glad to see that it's ending with season 4, because I feel like they've ran their stride as far as the stories they could tell, and that actually taking individuals and making individual stories and not having to stick to the same storyline is how they're going to be able to push the life, you know what I'm saying, have a bigger life cycle for this genre or this franchise as what it is. Because I feel like it kind of feels like Stuart's going to feel this. It kind of feels like maybe season 4 through 6 of Arrow, where we're like, this is getting boring. There's a little bit, there's nothing going on. They're just grasping at straws here until they found a story, until that new show, you know what I'm saying, to the new showrunner come in and breathe new life into what was going on. So maybe that's what's going to happen with this. It's the same thing that I'm hoping that happens with the Game of Thrones prequels. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need some new life breathed into something that's kind of ran its course. So hopefully it works out. I'm going to watch season 4 because I'm invested. I'm not going to spend that much time with a show and not sit there. I mean, I did the same thing with Power. I sat through 2 seasons, so I was like, I might as well see how this ends. And I was completely dissatisfied and horribly upset that I spent that much of my life watching that show. So hopefully Castlevania ends better than previous shows that I've been watching as of late. It seems like lately shows have been having problems with being able to run longer seasons. Like, everything can't be The Simpsons and Grey's Anatomy. You know what I'm saying? They're not keeping people's interest.
I kind of see it as a good thing when shows like are ending and they use the words ending after a short amount of time, because I'd rather see more shows just end after like 4 or 5 seasons rather than kind of keep dragging because they're contractually obligated to and not because like the writers are still interested. I'd rather just have it like, you know, have a good run and then end it on a good note.
And I think you bring up a good point too, Indy, about the idea of villains. Because for me, what really drew me into the first Castlevania series was the story of Dracula. I thought he was a super compelling character, and definitely wanted to see what his journey was going to be like. So the idea of him not being involved after season 2, I could definitely see why some people, especially if you don't have a villain that's going to come in and be sort of on that level or have that sort of maybe depth to it, that I can kind of see the series maybe going down a different pathway. But like even you mentioned, it'll be interesting to see who the showrunner is or who comes in that's going to maybe breathe sort of some new life into this universe, if you will. So I think for me, I'm definitely really curious to see what we wind up getting there. Gabriel says, I hope we get more Netflix series based on Capcom games. Resident Evil is getting an anime, and Adi Shankar is has been trying to get the rights to Devil May Cry. I'm hoping for a Street Fighter anime. That would be pretty cool. Don't we have a Resident Evil movie that's supposed to be coming out too? I thought they just dropped the trailer. Is that on Netflix?
It's that's an animated series. It's not going to be a movie, but the one with Leon and Claire Redfield, yeah. So that means Netflix actually has 2 Resident Evil series now coming, because there's the live action one coming and the animated series that will tie into the game.
Devil May Cry would be very interesting, considering that the anime that they had previous was very well done and cut short, because I'm guessing because it didn't have the appeal, it didn't have the numbers that it was supposed to have, but it was one of the best Capcom adaptations that I've seen. I'm personally kind of Street Fightered out. The Street Fighter animated movies, the ones that came out, was all I needed. Those were amazing.
Yeah.
If you want to start an animated series and you really want to have it dope, man, I need a Mega Man X animated series. Give me that.
I dig it. I dig that. I would be down. I would be down for that too. And I know this isn't a Capcom game, but even the idea of Netflix taking again another animated series and adapting it, the idea of Cowboy Bebop, they've got that they're going to be adapting to more live action instead of animated realm. But yeah,
when they got halted, like I was so excited for I remember when we announced that, I was so excited for Capcom for Cowboy Bebop, and just totally forgot about it.
Well, the production has wrapped, so it's definitely coming. So I'm really hoping that we get it here soon. But yeah, I would be open for a Devil May Cry, or just seeing Netflix really dabble in a bunch of Capcom games. I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, the idea of you bringing up Mega Man does have me interested now.
Yeah, Mega Man needs more put respect on his name. Say his name. Mega Man needs more respect, because there was a minute in time when Mario did nothing and Mega Man was all you knew when it came to Nintendo and Capcom. Like he was the spokesperson when you had a Nintendo. It was all about what Mega Man is coming out. Like, put respect on that robot's name, man.
He had the best comeback with Mega Man 9, though, because that game was hella fun. It was also one of the most difficult games I've ever played, but it was a lot of fun.
Even Mega Man Legends was amazing for open world, RPG style thing. Like, Mega Man's had a great run. I just don't think I think Pokemon killed Mega Man, to be totally honest with you.
Was King of the Fighters Capcom?
Yeah, no, King of the Fighters was SNK. But they had a Capcom spinoff when they started their verses. One of the first verses they did, it was Capcom versus SNK. Right, I do
remember that in the arcades. Yeah, I do remember playing that in the arcades. That's probably why I thought that they were connected. That's probably why I thought.
That's another thing. SNK is really good with their anime and bridging everything in. Fatal Fury, the Fatal Fury movies and the animated series are some of the best fighting game anime out there.
I would love to see those adapted also. I'm sure they probably have older series, but I haven't really kept up with anything as far as if they have any new anime. But yeah, I would love to see either of those franchises get something.
I would challenge any fan watching the show right now to any Fatal Fury series game they want to play live on our Twitch.
Oh snap! Oh, down the gauntlet, Indy. I love it.
I have that confidence with Soul Calibur. I will kick anyone's ass in that game.
Ooh, very nice, very nice.
But going back really quick to Castlevania.
Yeah, go for it.
Still slightly off topic of the show, but relevant to the games. Okay, so do you guys know who the Angry Video Game Nerd is?
Yes,
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So his very first video was Castlevania back in 2006 when he reviewed Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. That video is now as old as Simon's Quest was when that came out, when he was reviewing it back in 06.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it just shows you just all the different like prequels and sequels to Castlevania that they do have. I mean, it does have a lush history for sure. So if they ever wanted to expand that universe, they've got plenty of material that they can certainly go back to and pull from if they wanted to.
Oh yeah.
So we'll definitely see, guys. So look, Netflix, even though Castlevania is coming to an end with season 4, they clearly have big plans. If you guys have anybody in mind that you certainly would like to see helm this project, definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts. And what do you think about the idea of spin-off series in this Castlevania world for sure? So let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, I think we got one more topic that we'll certainly go ahead and bring up and talk about before we get to your guys' live viewer questions. So let's go ahead and dive into this last topic here. This one comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter because as we've known for a while now, when it comes to Amazon Prime, they've been doing their best to go ahead and put together a brand new Lord of the Rings television series. It's been in production for quite some time over in New Zealand. We know that we certainly are going to be getting it here before long, but they've really been hyping up for quite some time as to how big this series is certainly going to be. You know, they've boasted about the idea of spending a ton of money when it comes to this series, but I don't think anybody expected that Lord of the Rings to cost this much, guys. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter this week, letting us know just exactly how much Amazon is spending towards this first season, at least when it comes to Lord of the Rings. Amazon Lord of the Rings to cost $465 million for just one season. Let's look at this real quick. It says the highly anticipated fantasy series will cost far more than the previous record-breaking estimates. This will be the largest television series ever made. It says Amazon Studios' Lord of the Rings television show is going to cost all the gold in the Lonely Mountain. Hollywood Reporter has confirmed that Amazon will spend roughly, and this is in New Zealand, $650 million. In U.S. currency, $465 million for just the first season of the show. That's far above previous reported estimates that pegged the fantasy drama as costing an already record-breaking $500 million for multiple seasons of this show. He says, what can I tell you is what I can tell you is Amazon is going to spend about $650 million in season 1 alone, is what the New Zealand Minister of Economic Development and Tourism says. This is fantastic. It really will be the largest television series ever made. It says by comparison, though, HBO Game of Thrones cost roughly $100 million to produce per season, with its per episode cost starting around $6 million for season 1 and eventually rising to about $15 million per episode in season 8. They do go ahead and point out, though, the eye-popping Lord of the Rings price tag almost certainly doesn't reflect season 1's production cost alone. The rights to the Tolkien property cost an estimated $250 million just to get the rights. Plus, there are a considerable startup costs when bringing Middle-earth to life, such as sets, costumes, and props that will be used throughout the series. So yeah, guys, $450 million to produce season 1. That's just an ass load of money. Can we just be real here for a minute? Indy, let me go ahead and throw this over to you first, man. You hear the idea of Lord of the Rings spending $465 million. What's your initial thought on this?
Season 8 of Game of Thrones cost $90 million. That's my thought on this. They quadrupled what it costs to, bruh, this show better have everything in it. I'm talking about we better have giant trees walking around every episode.
Real trees. No, I need to see real trees.
I need to, bro. I need to see every, like, they must have had the licensed Groot from Disney, and every tree looks like Groot. I don't know what they're doing here, but Amazon has the money to throw around. But Jesus, 465. I know it cost them some money to license the property, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if anything with this show goes wrong, I'm talking about if I see a Starbucks cup or anything anywhere in this show, I am ripping it apart no matter how good it is, just because of how much money they spent. This is too much money on a television show, but probably shows you how committed they are to fight with the big boys, to fight with the Netflixes, to fight with the Disney Pluses, to fight with the HBO Maxes, to stand out as something prominent when it comes to Amazon Prime. If we look at the content that they're putting out, whether you're into The Boys, Invincible, which has been very good, by the way, which I've been going back and forth on reviewing or not, to be totally honest.
If you want to, we should, yeah.
Yeah, I've been.
I really enjoyed the first episode.
I enjoyed all 6. And they're stepping up to try to take your money from you. You don't need any of this stuff because we got stuff that's better than what they're showing over there, over here. I feel like Amazon has something to combat what everybody else is showing. You know what I'm saying? So it can't miss. It can't, for that much money. If you make a mistake, that could be the biggest mistake of your life.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the fact that Amazon is spending so much money towards it, it does bring into consideration also the risk, that Amazon is putting towards it, in the sense of, if this series doesn't do what it's supposed to do, the idea of having to get your money back is not an easy task. They at least did mention the idea of startup costs, right? The startup costs for first seasons do tend to be a little bit more expensive, just because you do have to create the world and the sets and things like that living around you. But even despite that, that definitely still seems like a ton of money. I mean, the fact that they do say, and just clarify this for me, this last sentence, it says the eye-popping Lord of the Rings price tag almost certainly doesn't reflect season 1's production cost alone. So does that mean the $250 million rights, is that included in that $450 million?
Bro, I hope it can be taken either way.
It would still be a lot of money if that were the case, but it wouldn't be like insane. Like over 400 millions in just production. To me, that's just straight up insane. But if it's like that includes the budget of what it costs to get the price of the rights, it's still a lot. Like, that's still more than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But that's not like the insane amount that it might be. But like $465 million, the only way I could see them justifying that, if that is the cost of the entire first season, the only way I see that being justified is if the season is more than 13 episodes long, because the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's budget is 150 million, and that's divided by 6 episodes, which means none of the episodes could have had more than 20 more, or at least not more than like that much more than 20 million per episode, right? Mm-hmm. So, or 20.5 million, something like that. I'm terrible. I should have done the math better in my head before saying that out loud. But yeah, you know what I mean? So, but if this is 465 million and they go to the route of Winter Soldier and they do like only 6 episodes, that's like a Hollywood movie budget for each individual episode. Like, that is just insane to me. So it depends on those 2 factors. But either way, even if, like, let's say the 250 it costs to get the rights is included in that price, that's still over 215 million, which means that's still more than Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and I mean, just based off of how, despite how you might have thought about the last season of Game of Thrones, visually it looked absolutely stunning, and that was spending over $100 million for that season alone. So I mean, if
episode that was just them filming without the lighting because they couldn't afford the lighting.
because you couldn't watch it, you couldn't barely see anything you were watching. And
then the best part is how the showrunner went out of their way to blame us as the viewers, saying, "Well,
your
it's
TV
your fault
settings
for not having better TVs."
You gotta lighten up your television, guys. You're watching on this wrong mode.
Everybody went out and got better TVs and rewatched the episode, and it still looked like shit.
And still didn't like it. So for me, it's like, if we're going to be spending this type of money, I hope this includes you guys spent money on building a time machine. We really went into an alternate universe and found Middle Earth in real life, that there are actual dragons that you trained to be on set with us. Like, for that type of money, I want some realism for sure for this series. But this just goes to show you just how at least devoted Amazon is, and just the item. First off, I just think that's an exuberant amount of money. Like, you can't donate $100 million to some organization instead of spending over $200 million. Like, do we really need it to look that good? You know what I mean?
Hold on. They do. They do.
They do. They do at least
that much money to different organizations. Like, the Amazon has a ridiculous amount of money. To like for them, that was him going in his wallet. Like, how much is this gonna cost? It's cool. I got it. I don't even have to go to the bank. Here you go. Like, that's exactly what that is, and it makes no sense. And I think it would be different if it wasn't a Lord of the Rings series.
Right.
I think that's it. If it was something else, because when you think of Lord of the Rings, you think like extravagant sets. We've seen it done in shows like Game of Thrones, like Vikings and stuff like that, for cheaper. So you're looking at that like, what are you planning to do? Is it finna be like lava monsters? Like, they better have lava monsters, like just all types of random stuff pop up every episode. I need a fairy floating around like it did for Link. You know what I'm saying? Like, constantly just flying around all the time. Like, you have to show me that it's worth it. Because if I look at this and it looks like you could have shot it for less, man, somebody just went, hey, we need this, and this. They would just market stuff off just to get it. Like, somebody sitting with a fat wad of cash in their pocket, like, we got over on Amazon.
And I mean, and it's crazy for me too, the fact that this is just one season, right? Like, the idea that they estimated originally $500 million for multiple seasons, and this is the amount of money that you're spending for just the first one alone. I'm just thinking to myself, I hope you guys make your money back for a season 2. You know what I mean? So we'll definitely see in regards to that.
I mean, if anyone can afford to lose this much money, it's Jeff Bezos.
You know what's going to happen, right? It's going to be exclusive Lord of the Rings collectible stuff that you can only buy on Amazon.
Yeah. Honestly, marketing wise, that's actually a brilliant idea. Yeah, and the one thing I do think would probably be not the best idea, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like saying that Lord of the Rings can't be a show for adults, but my thought is that when you're putting that much money behind your show, wouldn't you want it to hit a wider audience? So I think it just makes the idea of this being an R-rated TV show that much weirder to me.
I will say this, outside of giving Amazon a hard time for spending so much money on this series, the idea that they are at least putting a ton of money towards this does make me just curious as to how just epic and how sprawling of a world that they're really committed to trying to make in here, right? Like, are we going to really truly have these big epic wars and these big battles? And I mean, you guys remember just from the Lord of the Rings movies themselves, all the CGI that went into creating these armies, right? And everybody raiding these castles and stuff. I am curious, like, if they are putting this type of money. One, we don't know exactly. I don't think they've mentioned how many episodes we're getting for the first season as of yet. So I do hope it's quite a few episodes, just to bounce off of what you said, Stuart. But if they are really putting this type of money towards it, I can only think that they're really doing justice at least to Middle Earth in regards to making it this big sprawling world that that Tolkien has wind up creating and actually bringing it to life. I'm just gonna have to see something epic in every episode at this point, though. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What I'm also really curious about is going to be like the show's continuity. If this is going to take place within the universe of the movies, or if it's going to take place within the universe of the books, or if it's like just starting its own brand new universe, but like using the lore from using the established lore from the novels.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly when this is supposed to be placed, but I do think it's probably, I don't know if they're even using characters that have already been established or not, or just placing it somewhere in Tolkien's world that he's created. But I am interested to check it out. But we'll see, guys. We definitely want to know your guys' thoughts. You hear this, Amazon is putting a ton of money towards Lord of the Ring. Does this get you excited? Does this get you worried? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen.
Your move, Disney. We need a $4 million X-Men show.
For real, man, for real. All right, guys, and I think with that, we will wrap up all of our topics today. But we do also have your guys' live viewer questions, which we're going to go ahead and get into for you guys today and start discussing. So let's see what we wind up having today. Let's see here. Oh, you got a few questions from Jessica Friedman. First up, with Supergirl and Black Lightning ending, who would you like to see take their place in Justice League? And which Arrow hero would you like Ryan Wilder to meet one day? So let's go with the Batwoman question here. If you could have her meet up with any Arrow hero, who would you like to see Ryan Wilder bump into?
White Canary.
Ooh, very nice. Very nice.
Just
what about you, Stuart?
I don't know how much longer we got her around, and I just really want her in as much TV as possible before she leaves.
Good old Katie Lotz. Yeah, man. I did get a chance to meet her once at a fan expo or a Dallas fan expo out here, I believe, a couple of years back. Yeah, man, she was a sweetheart. What about you, Stuart? What'd you say, Andy?
Touched by an angel.
Yeah, I think arm around everything. You know what I mean? I was happy, man. Happy, man. Stuart, you muted yourself.
I keep pressing the button and it takes I have to press it twice now for it to unmute for some reason. Yeah, so yeah, I feel like the moment Katie Lotz leaves the show is when they end Legends tomorrow. I don't think they're going to continue it without her. But as for characters I'd like Ryan to meet, I don't know. I feel like since her show has also gotten like Batwoman's gotten a lot more into the social commentary, it would be kind of interesting if she did a crossover with Black Lightning. But I also would kind of like her to cross over with Supergirl, so Supergirl could at least have that one moment of getting to meet the new Batwoman before her show ends. But I'm not too sure if that's going to happen or not.
That does make sense. Supergirl would be the one cosign you would need for the new Batwoman to feel like that's the real, you know what I'm saying, Batwoman, especially with the relationship that her and the previous Batwoman had. That's the one cosign she's missing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to get a little bit of a World's Finest crossover event between Batwoman and Supergirl, and we never unfortunately got that outside of the Crisis, a Crisis series that we wind up getting. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. And then who would you like to see take their place on the Justice League with Supergirl and Black Lightning ending? Do you think that means they need to certainly be replaced, or do you think they can certainly just keep having their position on the team and just pop up randomly?
I mean, personally, yeah, I don't want to see them get replaced. I'd like to just see them pop up once a season after their shows end, so they can hopefully continue doing the really big crossovers every year.
Yeah, I hope just because the shows are ending, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're hanging up their cape or costume. You know what I mean? Because I really would like to see him come back.
Supergirl would easily be replaced by Superman.
He's already on the team, isn't he? Already on the team?
Yeah, I don't know. Does he have a seat there?
It's two Kryptonians. Yeah, they do have both.
I don't know what's canon anymore since what Oliver did. So I'm so confused about that. About.
Well, that came after he reset the universe, so we do see that the seats are still canon.
And I will say this though: did you guys see the promo that they had, where they completely removed Ruby Rose as Batwoman from the Justice League lineup?
Yeah,
did you notice that? Which is kind of crazy to me. So I guess we should be asking the question: who's gonna replace her? I'm assuming probably Ryan Wilder, but as that Batwoman will probably just fit right in there. But still,
yeah, it'll definitely be. It's gonna be interesting watching Ryan meet those other members who had a relationship, with Kate Kane, because everybody's going to be judging her towards what Kate did, which is amazing how much Kate did in a year. In one season, how much she actually got accomplished. So I guess that is a big shoes to fill with everything that she did. She didn't just save Gotham, she saved the world twice in the time that, she was Batwoman. So that's going to be interesting in what happens. But I watched that Painkiller premiere. And although I didn't watch a review yet because I wanted to watch it before I watched the review, so I don't know your ideas on it. Other than the pacing, I really like where they're going with that show. And he could easily take that seat, You know what I'm saying? At that Black Lightning seat. And to me, it's going to be a more capable hero than what they showed us, you know what I'm saying, Black Lightning being, because it's always something about a hero that has to redeem themselves rather than, you know what I'm saying, somebody who's just a hero from the start. So that's going to be very interesting. But other than that, you're going to have Stargirl sitting, you're going to have somebody from the Stargirl universe sitting at that table representing them. And that's honestly who I feel they are gearing up to replace Supergirl is going to be Stargirl.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Stargirl would be a really interesting suggestion. I feel like she's probably going to be joining more of the JSA at that point in time on her world. But I mean, if you need somebody to tag in from another world to at least be like an additional member for Earth Prime, like, hey, when shit hits the fan, we might need your help, sort of thing. Stargirl would be a really great addition. As far as Painkiller goes, I definitely I enjoyed the episode for sure. I would agree with you, Indy, in the sense of the pacing. Outside of the pacing, you know, maybe just trying to get a little bit comfortable with some of the new supporting characters and things like that. Was a little bit hard for me at first. There are some that really jumped out at me, but outside from that, I definitely felt like there's a lot of potential here. I really do like Jordan Calloway as Painkiller. So while I definitely enjoyed the episode, I do think that there's certainly a lot more that they could dabble in if he does get his own spinoff series. So I'm all for it, honestly. I truly am. My biggest worry is I don't know if the episode hit me hard enough to be like, he definitely needs his own spin-off series. But if he were to get one, I'm here for it, because I do think what they showcased in the pilot showed a lot of great potential, especially with Agent Odell coming back and just the connection he has to past Black Lightning characters and storylines. I really would like to see his character pushed even further. So bring it on. I definitely would be open to that.
That needed to be two episodes. That should have been a 2-episode like thing, because they had to cram too much into it.
Into one, yeah, I agree.
But the one thing I will say is they never let that kid act on Black Lightning. They never gave him a chance to actually just act his character and act that stuff out, because the range he went through just in this one episode,
yeah,
was just crazy.
Yeah, I love seeing his push and pull with his own self. Like, I found that stuff really really intriguing. So I would love to see more of that.
They humanized Painkiller. They made you feel sorry for Painkiller.
I thought it was really cool, like the idea that he actually wasn't Khalil, like, just by himself. Like, Painkiller was always a part of him, like even before they like kind of made him like they made them separate. That was kind of a cool reveal to me. So it's like the idea that they can actually humanize what was supposed to be pure evil. I thought that was really fascinating. So personally, I wouldn't want to see him replace Black Lightning, but I would love to see him join the Justice League for sure.
Yeah, I think we had a really great dynamic.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I would need a passing of the torch. If he's going to replace Black Lightning, I need Black Lightning to step up and say, yes, you know what I'm saying, you redeemed yourself, and like give him that seat, like hand him that off. And that's honestly the one time that I actually accept, you know what I'm saying, him coming on and just adding the seat, because I don't want it to get Justice League Unlimited where there's friggin' 99 members.
Yeah, I get you. that you definitely makes sense there, man. That's one of the reasons why, like, for me, I while I enjoyed Anissa being a part of the show, just because of the fact of just the difficulty that those two have had as far as their relationship over the past couple of seasons. You know, we already know how Anissa certainly feels about Khalil, so I thought she was a great addition to the series. But there was a part of me that was kind of missing Jefferson a little bit, or a little quick cameo would have been great, because I do love those two together and just their history. So yeah, I would agree with you, Indy. If there was a passing of the torch, I definitely would need Jefferson to be the one to do that. Let's see here. We got Marcelino Vasquez, who certainly is coming through with a couple questions of his own. For you Mortal Kombat fans out there, who is your favorite Mortal Kombat classic character? And who is your favorite new Mortal Kombat character from the recent games from X to 11?
Probably Sub-Zero when talking about classics. I haven't played enough of the newer ones to really have an opinion on who my favorite character from the newer games would be.
Yeah, a classic was Scorpion for me, but I haven't played the new stuff really.
Classic, of course, is Scorpion. New, Cassie Cage.
Although I guess
Is that Johnny Cage's daughter?
Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade's daughter.
Oh snap! Okay, I was just actually watching the first Mortal Kombat a little bit yesterday.
That's next Friday. Oh
yes.
crap!
Yes, that I can't wait for.
Are we doing that?
Ready? Sure, we can definitely. If somebody wants to, I wouldn't mind somebody doing a non-spoiler review, and then we do a spoiler review that weekend or something.
Yeah, I can't do a non-spoiler. There's no way in the world I can talk about that movie without spoiling it.
So maybe if anything, maybe we'll just do a spoiler discussion in regards to it then.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but we'll definitely talk about it.
Oh, should we?
When it comes to the new
spoiler Patreon only and do the non-spoiler for everybody?
No, we'll do the non-spoiler at least, Ren. No, I like the idea. But I think if we're just gonna do one, I think we should probably just do the spoiler one. So that should be fine.
So for talking about the newer Mortal Kombat games and favorite characters, just saying like Predator might be my favorite new Mortal Kombat character. Does that count? Because I mean they're in the game.
No, I don't think that counts, Stuart. That's just me. What about you, Indy? Do you think that counts?
That counts.
Predator. Okay.
Yeah.
If Indy says it counts, it counts. He's more of the video game guy than me.
The way they do the story now and how they build it in, they're not just extra characters. They actually build a story around those characters coming in. So that definitely counts.
Okay, that counts then. So what was the story for Spawn then?
Jason Voorhees is my favorite.
Spawn was pulled from a different dimension to come in. It's a bunch of stuff that's going on with time and how things, especially in Mortal Kombat 11, time was manipulated. If you're not going to play the game, I would at least just go watch like the story.
The stories
watch how the story plays out. It's crazy.
Okay, so then mine's is Spawn. Then I'll go with Spawn. I have no idea, but I'll just pick Spawn. What is your favorite movie adaptation or reboot that deviates away from the original source material, and that's what makes it great? So is there a favorite movie adaptation or reboot that deviates away from the original source material, and that's what makes it great?
Come back to me on this one. I'll let you guys go first.
A movie adaptation or a reboot that deviates away from the just the one that just right off the top of my head. Civil War. I think Civil War movie was actually better than the comic book series itself. I mean, some of the themes are certainly there, but it definitely felt like it took its own liberties in regards to adapting the story. So in that sense, an easy one, Civil War, but I'll still think of another one if I can.
No, Civil War was actually really good. That was a very good pull, to be totally honest with you.
I was trying to think of something else that I watched that might be different from it's a reboot, but yeah, that's the first one I could think of.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I mean, I would definitely use that, man. Yeah, I would definitely use that.
That was nothing like the comics or the television show. It was totally different.
No, it was the perfect mixture of the comics and the television show. It was like, let's take the grittiness of the comics, but let's give it the personality of the cartoon. Like that was the perfect adaptation, honestly.
Yeah, I would definitely consider that.
Dang, I kind of want to go with both of your guys' answers because they were so perfect, and I couldn't think of a third answer of my own. And it sucks because immediately when we end this podcast, I'm going to be like, dang it, now I have the perfect answer. But yeah, for now, I definitely do agree, like with Civil War, just because I'm not really the biggest fan of the comic. It's kind of overrated to my opinion. So I think the way they adapted it in the movie was just awesome, giving it like its own thing, but you do get the at least theme of, superheroes fighting on different sides, even though they still do have the same moral compass.
Yeah. So if you do think of another one, let me know. We'll move on to the next question unless you guys have another one that pops up randomly.
I think the problem with Civil War is that Avengers versus X-Men was done so much better than Civil War.
Let's see here. Did Zack Snyder ever confirm why he decided to have only 6 people to be founding members of the Justice League instead of the traditional 7? I know we get Martian Manhunter, but he is regulated to a cameo and is not not a main character. Well, I will say this. When it comes to Zack Snyder, let me see if I can find this. Originally, there were plans to actually have 7 members. Let me see if I can pull this up here for you guys. For those of you who maybe don't know the history here, yeah, when it was originally formulated, they actually did have 7 members included in their idea. Here, let me so much so that they actually went ahead and did promotional work for it. If you guys recall, they had a poster. Let me Unite the 7 is what they had. This was our first glimpse as to anything Justice League related, because I think this came out, I believe they said in 2015, February 2015. Zack Snyder actually dropped this this poster just ahead of Batman versus Superman being released in movie theaters. So originally it seems as though, yes, they did have the idea of 7 involved. But unfortunately, as we know, when it comes to Batman versus Superman, and certainly how that movie was definitely received, a lot of changes definitely happened behind the scenes. Justice League was meant to be 2 films worth, but they wind up reducing it down to simply just 1. So wouldn't surprise me if the script wind up changing. So instead of 7 characters, they decided to go down to 6 characters, with them now eliminating a second Justice League movie. And I'm very much under the impression that that 7th member was supposed to be Green Lantern. Even in the director's cut, Zack Snyder has come out and said that originally the person that we're supposed to see at the end of the movie was supposed to be John Stewart's Green Lantern, coming down to talk to Bruce Wayne to let him know that he's there to certainly help out if he needs anything, aside from the Martian Manhunter cameo that we were supposed to be getting. So if I had to put my money on it, I would say the 7th member was supposed to be Green Lantern. But yeah, so originally Zack Snyder did have plans for 7, but unfortunately, with everything that happened with Batman versus Superman, plans certainly changed and only came down to 6. Is that how you guys mostly know what to have happened?
Yeah. I think it came down to, like, he originally had a plan for a 2-part movie, and then I want to say it was about like not that far into production when, like, Warner Brothers told him it had to be 1 movie instead. But I think originally, if he was going to go with the 2-part movie plan that he originally wanted to do for Justice League, the first part would have been the 6 members, and then the second part would have been like uniting the 7. They would have introduced like Green Lantern at the very end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it definitely seemed like to me. So he definitely had plans for it, Marcelino, for sure. So hopefully that answers your question in regards to that. Speaking of which, AJ does mention here that Amber Heard is coming back for Aquaman 2. They actually just had a set photo of her on set, I think, in the process of filming. So Amber Heard is definitely returning. I wasn't quite sure what they were going to do in regards to that, but let's see here. We got AJ. He's got a couple of questions. What'd you say, Andy?
Hashtag recast Amber Heard.
Let's see here. AJ, he's got a couple questions. He says, with Alfred Molina coming back for Spider-Man Home Slice and the news of him being de-aged, do you think the movie will pick him up right after Sam Raimi's Spider-Man? And what surprises would you like to see? Yeah, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a moment where we do see how that story ends or begins for Doc Ock. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of a flashback and then get an opportunity to see how he actually came to be in this world. So and you know what would fascinate me too is just based off of the fact of how much of a genius Doc Ock certainly is, I would like to see what goes through his head when he gets kind of transported into a new multiverse. Just some of the ideas and concepts that he kind of comes up with, like if he formulates how he even got here, and who knows, maybe he tries to find somebody like a Peter Parker to maybe help him maybe get back to his world or figure things out, despite his tentacles maybe having certainly a mind of their own type of thing. I'm really fascinated to see how he'll return. But do you think the movie will pick up from that particular moment for Doc Ock, or do you think like we'll see it, or what surprises would you guys like to see?
I want to see it taking place right afterwards, and him thinking the only one who can help me back home is Peter Parker. So he goes to meet up with Peter Parker, and he's like, Peter,
you're not Peter.
I'm from another dimension, and I need your help getting back. And then Peter just being like, oh, ha ha, very funny. Did Mysterio put you up to this?
Which Avenger sent you over here to set me up, huh? Yeah, I could easily see that.
I think it should. I think the entire movie should start right from that point. Like they shouldn't waste no time. Like when the movie starts, that's when it starts, and then you don't see him again until he pops up.
I like that.
That would be a cool opening scene, opening it with that scene of Spider-Man 2 at the very end, and then maybe adding in footage of what happened afterwards.
What surprises would you guys like to see? Is there any? I mean, I feel like there's already a ton of surprises in this one movie. Is there anything else that you guys would like to see added?
I mean, I'd still be surprised. Like, I'm not saying it's not happening. I haven't had confirmation about it yet. So I would be surprised if it turned out that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are actually in the movies, and it's more than just a cameo.
Oh, like having bigger roles than what they're assuming right now.
Yeah, and I don't mean like main lead role. I'm thinking like more Kingdom Come Superman in Crisis on Infinite Earths type of role.
Okay.
I need Matt Murdock and Agent Coulson.
Yes.
That's all I need. Make everything canon. I need Matt Murdock and Agent Coulson. Just make everything canon.
I'll even go so far as to say, give me a live action Miles Morales in here. You know, while I would like to see them hold off maybe a little bit on the idea of a live action Miles, because I've always said I always thought it would be really great for them to build up Miles in like his own maybe animated trilogy and then introduce him as live action. But with you messing around with the multiverse and you're bringing back so many live action characters from all across the Spider-Verse, for me, I think a really cool surprise would be our first ever live action Miles Morales kind of popped up in here. So if I had a surprise, that would be mine. I would like to see.
Now, would you rather see the Miles Morales that's going to exist within the MCU continuity, or would you rather see the Miles Morales from Into the Spider-Verse?
Wait, say that one more time, Stuart. I'm sorry.
So would you rather see would you rather the MCU introduce Miles Morales like that, the one that exists within the MCU, or would you rather it be the Miles Morales from the Into the Spider-Verse movie?
Into the Spider-Verse movie.
All right.
I think just build off of that for him also. Who knows? Maybe this movie would lead into Into the Spider-Verse 2 sequel. You know what I mean?
So cool.
Who certainly knows, man?
That'd be nuts.
I would dig that. Let's see here. He also says, what did you guys like about Shazam 1? And do you think the second one will be even better? And any comparison the first movie gave from other superhero films?
Yeah, the first Shazam reminded me of Meteor Man for some reason.
Like, hey, great callback.
It reminded me of Meteor Man.
I love Robert Townsend.
It was a well thought out movie that didn't take itself too serious, and it was totally opposite of what we currently had as far as DC films, and that's what made it stand out, and that's what made it an enjoyable movie.
Yeah, I agree. Like even the surprise, I think at the end of the Shazam family, I thought was a really great surprise. You know, I wouldn't have minded Shazam just being his own hero in this entire movie and then introducing the Shazam family. But I did think there was a really great nod to the comics and a really great surprise. I don't think many people even saw coming. But for me, what stood out to me was really just the family dynamic, the idea of like this family that would bring in like a foster home and stuff, and having all these different characters having to live under the same roof and get along, and just seeing their family dynamic was always really fun to me, honestly. And yeah, it just felt different, you know, while, you know, we're so used to our DC movies being or just comic book movies in general being these big blockbuster films these days, to be a little bit more of a smaller, I don't want to say smaller budget, but a smaller film with really comedy driving it, I thought was pretty fun and unique in its own right. So I think that definitely helped make it stand out for sure. I don't know if it's something that landed for everybody, but I feel like people that watched it certainly enjoyed it for sure.
I think like what stood out to me about it the most was with Zachary Levi and the kid playing Billy, the fact that like anytime he transformed into Zachary Levi just did an amazing job of feeling like the exact same character. Like it never felt like, you know, it was just switching in one actor for a different one. It felt like, you know, even though they're different actors, it's kept feeling like it was the same person the entire time, which is really impressive.
Yeah, and for me, when it comes to the sequel, I am expecting this to be even a little bit better. Again, my thing is you've established the character. Now let's start trying to push it a little bit more. You know, maybe some bigger world building, maybe more heroics from Shazam and things like that, but still being able to keep that lightheartedness aspect to him. I would be completely okay with. But I would like them to see expanding the world just a little bit more, especially when you start talking about the idea of introducing. You know, I don't know if they're going to be introducing Black Adam into the second movie or not, but if that's the world that you're kind of starting to get into, and maybe even Superman references with Black Adam, who knows? I definitely go ahead and push the boundary just a little bit more if you want to, but still holding on to that lightheartedness.
The Shazam family is not ready for Dwayne Johnson, so they got a lot of growing up to do.
They do.
That man is a literal rock now.
Yeah, for sure. So I am eager to see. I definitely agree with you. I'm definitely eager to see that. You also, and AJ also says, when MCU first announced rebooting the Tom Holland Spider-Man films, what were your guys' thoughts on Spider-Man rebooted for a second time after the original Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield installment? How would you like for Home Slice to wrap up or tease the future? So when Tom Holland's Spider-Man films were announced, what did you guys think?
I was mixed on it. Oh, sorry.
No, go right ahead, because I remember what me and Adam talked about.
I was mixed on it, only because on the one hand, yeah, I much like a lot of other people, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but to me, it just kind of felt pathetic to just be like, oh, we had a movie that wasn't as good as we were expecting, even though it made a profit. It just didn't make the $1 billion profit that they were expecting. So it seemed kind of pathetic for Sony to just kind of be like, yeah, rather than, you know, probably learning from our mistakes, but still moving forward, they're just like, let's hit the reset button, you know, and because I think that Andrew Garfield could have had some really good chemistry with the other actors within the MCU, so that would have been cool to see. So it would have been nice to see like a what if scenario of what if like Andrew Garfield like was in the MCU instead of Tom Holland. But at the same time, you know, after seeing Captain America Civil War, and then of course after seeing Spider-Man Homecoming, I've been absolutely loving Tom Holland as Peter Parker, and that's kind of what made me turn around on the whole thing of them dropping Andrew Garfield, is because yeah, as much as it does kind of suck the way they ended his movie franchise, I just really love Tom Holland, so it's just like it makes it so it's just like I don't care as much as I normally would have. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
Basically,
agree with you. What about
biased.
you, Andy? No, I get you.
As we know, because we have discussed this at length at the time that I've been on this channel, I wasn't a fan of Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker. I liked his Spider-Man, and then it was the opposite with Andrew Garfield. So my thing was, as long as they could find somebody that could marry the both, I was good with it. And after seeing the first film, that's something that Tom Holland did. He ended up marrying both parts, where he's a good Peter Parker and he's a good Spider-Man. So I was all for it, also with the way that it tied into the current MCU and what was going on. I think that's something that Spider-Man was missing with the first two incarnations, because he's out of any character is so involved with everything that happens in Marvel Comics. He was one of the biggest parts about Civil War, and I think that's one of the big things that was missing, was him revealing his identity, you know what I'm saying, to the world, to come out and make Iron Man stand so relevant. The fact that, you know what I'm saying, Spider-Man came out and said, look, I'm gonna unmask and let you know who I am. You know what I'm saying, type of deal, with everything that he has been through with villains coming after him, because he's got some of the top-notch villains. Like, he has a villain list that rivals Batman's when it comes to his rogues gallery. So that, I think that's one of the things that I like that they did. I was scared for it because I wasn't sure about what was going to happen. Sure, Spider-Man's popularity is going to make you go watch a Spider-Man film. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And Tom Holland has lived up to what Peter Parker and Spider-Man were going to be, especially living in this universe. Everybody cried when he dusted. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody got attached to him very quickly, whether they liked him or disliked him. He humanized Iron Man. He made it so that Tony Stark had a reason to die rather than just himself. Because if we think about Endgame, when he came back, what's the first thing that he told Captain America? I lost the kid.
Yeah,
you know
that was weighing on him.
Yeah. So, and then
I mean, even the fact that in Endgame, the fact that he comes back and the first thing he does is hug him, you know?
Yeah, or the thing that makes him decide to help what's left of the Avengers to go back in time and try to stop Thanos was him washing dishes, and he doesn't pick up a picture of his kid. He picks up a picture and looks at him giving, you know what I'm saying, Peter Parker an award. That's what he does, and that's what gets his mindset into the thing. Let me go see if I can work this out. You know, so his drive, and I'll be honest, his push to put the MCU where it is now, because it went from Iron Man to the Avengers to me to Spider-Man. So he's one of the biggest reasons that everything is working right now, and I don't feel you would have got that with the first two incarnations of Spider-Man.
Right. No, I definitely get you there for sure. And I'm in the same page as you are, Indy, in the sense that when it came to Toby, really loved him as Spidey. I didn't mind his Peter Parker so much, but it was definitely I loved him as Peter Parker, it was Andrew Garfield who I really loved as Spidey, but not so much as Peter. Like, Andrew Garfield was just too cool of a Peter Parker for me. So I always loved how they played one of their particular roles. And I remember when it was announced, while I wasn't the biggest fan of the Amazing Spider-Man, I did the second one. I was surprised at the idea that they were pulling the cord on it, because it did make money at the box office. So I just felt it warranted at least another try, because it's not like the first Amazing Spider-Man was crappy. I really enjoyed the first Amazing Spider-Man. If anything, I just felt maybe they need a little bit of a course correction, but can at least get a full trilogy out of this man if they certainly wanted to. But I guess maybe just where Amazing Spider-Man 2 was leading, potentially into a Sinister Six, maybe that just felt too risky of an ordeal for Sony to go ahead and pull the trigger on it. While it surprised me, I guess it didn't surprise me that Sony would do something along those lines. But when they announced the idea that, one, it was going to be really headed by Marvel, or at least worked with Marvel, the fact that they were going to bring in somebody like Tom Holland. I had just seen Tom Holland in that movie, The Impossible, with Ewan McGregor, and he did a fantastic job. A really great, just strong young child actor. And then I think I even saw him on like the lip sync battle or something like that he was in his performance, and I'm thinking, okay, like this kid is talented. Like, if we're gonna get somebody to at least reprise the Spider-Man role, at least somebody that is capable of doing it. Like, Tom Holland wasn't even my favorite choice. I think I had Asa Butterfield or something like that as my my contender that I was really hoping that he would get the job, but it was definitely between those two. So the fact that he wound up brought on board, while it definitely made me scratch my head as to why you rebooted it, for me it was like, okay, the MCU's getting a crack at it, and based off of everything that the MCU has shown me, I do think that they're probably going to get this right. And the fact that, you know, once we see him in Civil War for the first time, I was like, this is gold. This is gold. You got your Peter, you got your Spidey all in one. You're done. That's it.
That costume and the reveal was just, you know classic. What I'm saying, super dope. And just think about it. At least from the three movies, right? You got Doc Ock, you got the Lizard, and you got the Vulture. You know what I'm saying? At least each three incarnations have had some of the best villains, you know what I'm saying, the superhero movies, because that Lizard was dope. Acted dope. Doc Ock was cool. And that's, I think, what hurts so much is that the villains in the second one were just as bad. Just like when you go to Spider-Man 3, those villains were just bad. So and the only thing that Tom Holland has had is that his villains haven't missed so far. He's had great villains. Again, we go to a great villain, you know what I'm saying, needed in order to make the hero look good. So here's hoping that this third entry does the same thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, keep our fingers crossed for sure. Bobby, what's up, Bobby? Appreciate you coming through, man. Not sure if you're still here. He says, not a big Tom fan, mostly because I am not liking his direction or hero worship of Iron Man, which doesn't surprise me. I do feel like I hear that a lot from some fans, just the idea of him being like Iron Man 2.0, I guess, in the eyes of some people, probably not really liking the direction in which that Spider-Man is certainly going. So definitely appreciate your opinion there, Bobby, in regards to that for sure. Let's see here. We got Doomsday. Besides Black Widow, Spider-Man's No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which movie of Phase 4 are you most excited about?
Oh, Shang-Chi, definitely.
That was random, but
Quick.
That was really quick and random. Like that's the last thing I thought anybody was going to say. But to be totally honest with you, for the longest I've been hitting here, especially at the WandaVision, I've been saying Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange. But after watching the recent episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier and characters that were introduced, Black Widow hands down.
Nice. Yeah, I was definitely had two titles in my head. Shang-Chi was definitely one of them, Stuart, because I am ready for a martial arts movie in the MCU. Like I truly am. I want to see what they bring to us. But I'll go a different field than you guys and say the Eternals. I'm really eager to see what they do, especially considering the fact that the director and writer, I think, was it Kathy Zhao, maybe Chloe Zhao, I believe her name is. She's gone on to make a movie in Nomad's Land that has really garnered a ton of attention. She's been nominated for awards if she hasn't won awards already for that movie in general. And everything that I've been hearing from Kevin Feige really has me anticipating this movie, that it is going to be just something unique and epic, sort of all at the same time. I mean, if you can be able to give me a really impressive storyline that's going to integrate like a love story included with sort of Jack Kirby's epicness of just the Celestials and Eternals and things like that in general, I think we might have a really great movie on hand. And if anything, it'll be a movie that I think is going to introduce us to a lot of concepts that when it comes to Phase 4 of the MCU is really going to establish a lot of that stuff to see what happens in the future of this upcoming phase. So we haven't even seen a trailer for it yet. I'm really interested in both of those movies that you guys have mentioned already, but yeah, the Eternals, I think a lot because of it's still mysterious to me, but just based off of what the director and writer has done for her past movies and the attention that she's given, definitely makes me think big things are coming for the Eternals. So don't sleep on it, guys. Don't sleep on it for sure.
It's also really funny with what Indy said, like how Falcon and the Winter Soldier is getting him really excited for Black Widow. I have heard rumors that the character that I can't remember her full name, but in the comic book she's referred to as Madam Hydra that we see in the most recent episode. There are rumors that she's supposed to be in Black Widow for a brief appearance. So fingers crossed that actually comes out.
That was supposed to be her debut, I believe.
Yeah, because that character itself was trained in the Red Room, has ties to, the Black Widow program, and also has ties to the next big organization, which could be running in the background, Legion. So there's a lot of stuff that they possibly, because Marvel is good at showing us something and then going a totally different direction with it. Like, we'll show you this just so you don't know what the heck we're doing, because we want you to think this while we go this way. And none more prominent than what they did in WandaVision. Like, oh, we're going to let you think this is happening now, but you're going to have to wait 2 years before you see what you want to see. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say something, Stuart, because I think we talked about the idea of who the power broker was the previous week, right? And we were throwing out ideas of maybe Sharon Carter, maybe I even brought up the idea of Norman Osborn, and I remember, Stuart, you mentioned the idea that you weren't sure if they could use Norman Osborn because of the idea that it's a Sony character, really. And then we got the opportunity to meet Madam Hydra here, and we see her recruiting somebody like a John Walker to her case. Whether or not John Walker continues to be the U.S. agent, or maybe he turns into a Hydra operative for her, whatever the case may be. For some reason, when I watched the episode, I just thought to myself, Thunderbolts, right? Like maybe instead of having a Norman Osborn-led Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers, maybe it could be somebody like them utilizing a character like Madam Hydra to be that person to step in instead of Norman Osborn to build something like that. So I am excited to see where her what her impact is going to have, and I do hope that despite Black Widow supposedly to have been Madam Hydra's debut, I hope that even despite some of the fluctuations in the release date for Black Widow, that they still have her in the movie, that they haven't cut her out. You know what I mean? I still hope that she's still in this film, because she has film scenes for Black Widow.
I don't think they're going to cut her out. I do believe that I really think that they think that most of the people who are watching the movies really aren't paying attention to like the show, like the casual fan. So for a lot of people, I think it will, when they see it, it will be something that's a first time for them seeing that. And then they'll go back and they'll watch, you know what I'm saying, Falcon and the Winter Soldier to see that introduction. So it might be a first time thing for them. But man, when it comes to the Power Broker, in 6 episodes, they have told such a story and opened up so many different paths that they can go. I really feel, and this is just me, out of all the options there is, I still feel like the Power Broker isn't a person, it's a government entity. Like it's multiple people making a decision, especially with the way that they're pushing the way the world's been. That it's a group of people making decisions that benefit them, that benefits where they're trying to set the world to. Like I feel it always has something to do with world domination, and they're setting the world to be exactly what they want the world to be after the world's being reset. Why these people get pushed out, and why the reason why they're going to where they're going, the lengths they're going to in order to say that we're included in this too. So it's going to be very interesting. I think the Legion Madam Hydra thing is going to be something totally different that sets up something else. I don't know where they're going to go with that, but I would think more of maybe a New Avengers, you know what I'm saying, type thing, or something to set up that. But I believe that's going to be a long play. But hey, when it comes to storytelling, they do it the best right now. When it comes to comic book and superhero, nobody's doing storytelling better than, especially with all the pieces that they have on the table.
I will say this. I want to pose a question to you before we even get to the other live viewer questions. I want to talk some Falcon and Winter Soldier with you guys, since you're both not on the reviews that we do on Friday. I do want to get your perspective.
I'll be there this Friday.
Okay, you can join us. You join in for the finale. I will say this. I am curious to know your thoughts on the final episode, or this episode that we've gotten so far. But one thing that's in the back of my head, guys, this itch that I keep having. Is Steve Rogers dead? Because the way that Falcon and Bucky and Sam talk about him, I feel like they talk about him like in the third person.
I have a
almost like he's not alive. And so I am wondering if it's something that maybe we'll get. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if like one of the final shots in Falcon and Winter Soldier is Bucky and Sam visiting the grave of Steve Rogers at the very end? Because my thing is just like, one, I don't want to say I'm surprised that Steve's not in this series. I mean, he is an old man at this point, last time that we saw him, but it just feels like the way that they talk about him, like they can't pick up the phone and text this man or call him or get advice. Like, you know what I'm saying? They talk about him like he's almost in the third person, like he's no longer around to give his thoughts or perspective on things. What do you guys think? Do you think Steve Rogers is dead?
I think he went back to his timeline because, okay, when you ask the directors and then when you ask the writers of Endgame, they both have two completely different answers on what actually happened at the very end of Avengers Endgame. According to the writers, they say that he lived in the regular timeline in the MCU. He just didn't affect anything to change the events of the main timeline, so he just lived out his life normally. But when it comes to the directors, what they say happens is that he lived in a separate timeline from the MCU. He went back in time so he could live the life that he never got to live, which caused another break in the timeline. So it means that he lived a completely different life separate from the MCU. And when he visited Falcon, it was literally just to give him the shield, and then he went back to his own universe. So I think that makes the most sense, especially because of Madam Hydra's line that she tells the U.S. agent when she mentions the idea that the shield is technically not U.S. government property. I think she's referring to the fact that it technically doesn't even belong in this universe. So it's technically not owned. It definitely isn't owned by this universe's government.
I got that too. I got that too, but I think she meant that the shield is owned by Wakanda because vibranium is Wakanda's property. So
could have been that too.
Yeah, that's what I think about. That's when they go to take the shield and she tells her to leave it. You know what I'm saying? It's actually Wakandan property because that's the only thing they're coming back is, you know what I'm saying, to get the vibranium and stuff because they own it. Like it comes from their company. Bobby says Homecoming showed him as one of the fallen. I think the reason is because it is believed and it's meant to be perceived as Captain America died.
Right.
But I don't think he's dead. I do believe. I like the perception of he didn't go live in an alternate timeline. He put the stones back. It's really weird with the way that the MCU discusses time. I really feel like he went back, he stayed where he was at, and he lived among that timeline, not messing with anything because he could mess up what finally happened. And he just stayed because what he did was he can't change his past. So everything, like the way that Bruce explained it, everything he went and did, he was going to do anyway. So it's his past. He was already going to do it. So he just lived that life out. And he's somewhere an old man right now, just letting stuff happen because if he interferes, he could mess something up. I do feel like that I don't know if it's going to happen this episode, but I do feel like he's coming back
at some point.
At some point in the comics, you know what I'm saying? There's a time where he gets the serum taken from him. He's an old man. He comes back. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you will get him back, but it's just so they have to be very particular with how they do this. It can't just be something that they just do. And there's a lot of people that are perceived across the Fallen because in Homecoming, Vision was wrote in as a Fallen too, and we know he's back. He just wasn't. He's just out doing whatever he's doing when Homecoming is happening. So we'll see what happens, and this growth that's going to happen from Sam is going to be interesting. It's crazy how quickly you can give a backstory and show growth. I'm hoping a lot of movie writers and other episode writers are seeing this, that you don't need a lot of time to tell a story to show a lot of growth, especially in Winter Soldier, Sam. But man, how are they telling a story like this in 6 episodes, basically around 6 hours, right? That the DCU couldn't do in like 6 movies.
I will say the one thing that I have loved about this season is if you needed to make a case as to why Sam Wilson should be Captain America, they've done a fantastic job in doing that. I've never seen a man so, I don't want to say confident, but like so ready for that role of Cap. You know, just seeing his growth, how he's handled himself, the advice that he's been able to give, his mentality of not striking first. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just really put himself in a fantastic position. Like I really love this past episode here of just seeing him having to struggle not only with the sort of mentality of Isaiah Bradley, providing for him, but also Sam really having to be his own man and make that decision for himself and really just understand what his impact of being a Black Captain America really is going to have on this world. I think just showing him ready to be able to pick up that mantle is pretty impressive, man. And so I do think that they've done a great job. And one of the things that I've said before is that when it comes to these MCU shows, you know, when we looked at Wanda and Vision before their series, we didn't even look at them as main players per se, right? We didn't even look at Falcon and the Winter Soldier as main players, more like B level Avengers, if you will, right? The fact that they've been able to establish them so well in both of these MCUs just truly catapult them to the forefront, if you ask me, of being a really great Avengers team if we were to get a new Avengers movie from them. So I really love all the shine that they're giving. We do have a couple other questions, so let's go ahead and push through. This is actually specifically for you, Indy, from Doomsday. Why do you love Captain America 2 so much? The Winter Soldier.
Because it's literally top 2 in Marvel movies. Storytelling. The Winter Soldier, put it this way. Everything that happened in the Winter Soldier, not only being the introduction of Black Panther, is the reason why everything that's happening in the MCU is happening now. That's the big point. The inclusion of what happened to Hydra, find out that Hydra was infiltrated, the death of the Wakandan king that pushed T'Challa into taking the mantle, the Sokovia Accords. Everything is a catalyst from what happened in Winter Soldier, and that movie from beginning to end. Whether Black Widow got a movie, her own movie, because of what happened in Winter Soldier. It was just the basis for everything. That if you took all the Marvel movies and you had to put something at the center, a lot of people would have said Iron Man is the reason. No, Iron Man is a branch of everything that happens. Civil War happens because of Winter Soldier. You could put Winter Soldier in the middle and do a parallel to like a line driving everything, and everything happened or was set to happen because of what happened in Winter Soldier. Everything either led to there or came out of that, period, than any other movie.
Let's see here. And then we have one more question from Doomsday. Would it be weird or cool if the Power Ranger 2017 group was in the final battle of Avengers Endgame? That would be weird to me. That would be weird to me. It would probably ruin the movie for me.
It would, especially with the way that Megazord looked.
yeah. Let's not. I don't want to see that Megazord running alongside Giant Man. No, I'm good.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would be the one thing that would be too weird for me if they did that at the very end of Endgame.
No, they would lose then. They would. Lose.
That would be the reason, right?
Yeah. Now that being said, though, if they ever like for the Power Rangers movie, if they decide to adapt Shattered Grid, I think that'd be a perfect time to bring back the 2017.
That would be cool. I would be open to that for sure. Let's see. Adrian Perez, he's got a couple questions. Any films or TV series you're waiting for to come out or wish did get picked up but failed? So any TV or movie series you're waiting for to come out or wish to come out but picked up but failed.
Do I even have to say it out loud, or does the fandom already know?
Green Arrow and the Canaries?
The Canaries.
Nice. I'm trying to think. I will say right now, off the top of my head, the Wonder Girl series, Yara Flor. I really wanted to see a Brazilian Wonder Woman, and really get to see her adventures. Just from what I saw in the comic books for the Future State stuff, I would be really fascinated to see her in a live action form. So I was a little bit bummed that didn't get picked up.
I'm curious about what Stu is finna say, because I have one more.
Well, I was also going to say Wonder Girl personally, but I guess if we're talking about things that we're looking forward to coming out, I guess number one right now would be Mortal Kombat, since that's coming out next weekend.
I got something that I was really excited about that ended up not coming to fruition. Ghost Rider.
Oh yeah,
I forgot about that.
Wasn't it Gabriel Luna? Wasn't he supposed to be the Ghost?
Gabriel Luna was supposed to be Ghost Rider.
Hellstorm was supposed to be was supposed to set that series up. Yeah,
that's a great one, man. That was a great one. Best martial arts film you've ever seen, guys. Best martial arts film you've ever seen.
Okay. The two that always come up to mind, or actually I guess there's three that always come to mind when I think of like really good solid martial arts films. First one being The Raid. The first one, like, just with how slowly it goes from being like kind of a shootout movie to, oh crap, we're actually out of bullets, so we actually can't rely on our guns. So then it just slowly like builds up to a really excellent martial arts movie from that. Like, I absolutely loved it. So that Enter the Dragon, specifically the mirror scene, which is amazing, because as much as I love the mirror scene in John Wick 2, and I think it's really well directed, the thing is that was mostly done with digital computers being able to remove whenever there was like the reflection of a camera that appeared on another like mirror or something, right? So they always have like digital effects that they can use to add to it, whereas back then for Enter the Dragon they didn't have any of that. So when you get that amazing mirror fight like at the very end of the movie and you don't see the camera anywhere, that is all just like, so it's still mind-blowing to me as a guy who's like trying to get into filmmaking. Just the way they shot that whole scene was just amazing. And then of course I got to go with the obvious one. I freaking love the Matrix movie, the first one.
That's a good one. Yeah,
I got two, and like these are the two that I have to have over anything. 5 Deadly Venoms and The Last Dragon.
Oh, my man, coming through with The Last Dragon. I'm so glad you brought good old Bruce Leroy, man. Fuck, I do love The Last Dragon. I actually have it on DVD because that's a movie that I do not mind. Show enough. That's one of the things I do not mind revisiting.
That's something that needs to be redone.
That does need to be redone.
That's a movie that needs to be redone.
It's a movie that I feel like it would lose its charm though if it was redone, because something about like it's the soundtrack and just the time it was filmed in that just made it so much fun.
That movie redone with friggin' rock with maybe Jizza and friggin' Kendrick Lamar doing the soundtrack.
Yes, yeah, I would be down. That'd be down. I would so be down. I'm so glad you brought that up, man. Yeah, my answer is not going to compare to that. I mean, I was going to say the Raid 2. The Raid 2 for me was great. I was a big fan of Rumble in the Bronx, good old Jackie Chan, and I definitely would say Enter the Dragon for sure also. But yeah, that was a great one, Indy, for sure, man. What are your afterthoughts of Justice League Snyder Cut? And what other movie you'd like to see get a director's cut someday? I'm not really too big on I mean, I used to be big on the fan of director's cuts back in the day, but like, I don't even know if I would want to see a David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad. I would be fascinated, but it's not something I absolutely need to see.
The director's cut that needs to come out, but probably never will, because I'm assuming by now the footage is all gone. Event Horizon, because I think they said about like an hour's worth of footage that was supposed to be in the movie was all gone. So a lot of the plot inconsistencies, a lot of the things that they kind of build up but never like actually follow through on. There's a reason for that, because they had to scrap it, because I guess it's weird to me because the movie's already decently violent, but apparently like the stuff they had to scrap it because it was too violent. And it's just like, if you're already doing an R-rated like horror like gore fest, why not like commit to it? So I'd love to see a director's cut of that, but it probably won't happen because I assume the footage is all gone by now.
I don't know if they did one, but it's something that I would like to see, and that's just to honor the man who was amazing in this film. I would like to see a director's cut of The Dark Knight, because I know there has to be some amazing footage they didn't use. I would love to see that, because I know it was supposed to be like maybe a couple of different endings. That was supposed, like, you know, like, let me show what the true image of that movie, even though it was a great movie. I want to see what, you know what I'm saying? I want to see the full cut of that movie. I don't want to see just what they had.
And then the other part of that, what are your afterthoughts of Justice League Snyder Cut? After you've had the opportunity to sit back and think about it a little bit. I still really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I know the fact that some people complain that 4 hours is a little bit too long, and I definitely understand that. Like I said before, I don't think if this movie actually hit theaters, it would be the 4-hour epic that it is. But from what I saw, I thought it was a great build up to a really great hero movie. I know some people would probably think of this as blasphemous, but I put this on par with the first Avengers film that we got from Josh Whedon, in the sense of how do you go about getting all these epic heroes together and being able to bring them together to fight this evil cause, if you will. I thought Josh Whedon did a great job with that in Avengers. And so for me, when I look at Zack Snyder's cut, just the 4-hour length and the craziness that ensues, and just all the motivations that they wind up giving each individual character, some great action pieces in here. I thought it was a fantastic buildup. And honestly, even the fight at the end with Steppenwolf, that battle even seems more intense than what we got from the theatrical version. And coming to see the idea of the Flash being the one to kind of ultimately sort of save the day with that epic rewinding of time, and seeing him run through the Speed Force. I mean, that shit gave me goosebumps to see just how epic of a finale that was, because you realize that the Justice League, despite all their power, still fail to a certain extent, right? Like they still lose. And if it isn't for somebody like the Flash, to have that point and just spotlight to help them save the day, just incredibly thoughtful and just epic on so many ways. So for maybe too long for some people, but I really love the epicness that Justice League wind up bringing to us. And so I thought this was a great film, and not without its issues for sure, but as far as epicness in regards to bringing the team together, I thought he did a fantastic job. But what about you guys?
You literally just said everything I was going to say.
Okay.
So what he said is exactly how I feel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
For me, my thoughts haven't changed really since watching it the first time. Like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like, I do have, issues here and there, but nothing that really ruins the movie. I'll say this, that, yeah, the 4-hour length, it is clearly because, it's like we shot all this footage, we might as well use it all. Like, I definitely could see a lot of these scenes being either cut down or just some scenes altogether being removed. But again, you're kind of going into this movie knowing that there's going to be a lot of padding in it, and that's totally fine. Yeah. I think overall, like as a film, it was so much better than what we got in theaters, and it's definitely my favorite out of the Zack Snyder trilogy.
Nice. That actually probably will do it for some of the live questions, but I would like to take maybe just a few comments real quick before we wrap up here. Captain RGD does have an interesting question. Will America really accept Sam as Captain America? I'm definitely expecting pushback, but what do you think?
I don't think America has to, because what people need to understand is that by the end of Captain America's run, Sam was the closest thing in his belief system to him. Remember, it wasn't about Steve Rogers being a soldier. It's about what he did as a person. And even at the end of the span, Captain America wasn't he wasn't trying to be a representation of America. He's trying to be a representation of what a good person should be. So he didn't stand for what America stood for. He stood what humanity should stand for. And that's what he sees Sam as. Because if Captain America was still alive, remember, he was on the run. He wasn't looked at as America as being a good person. Like, they were literally hidden. That's what a lot of people, I think, lose in the story that's unfolding right now. Sam doesn't need America to support him. You know what I'm saying? He just needs to stand on the right side of what needs to be done, period.
That's a good point, because I remember even in Spider-Man Homecoming, when you see Captain America giving the PSA to the kids, I love the fact that the teacher comes in and is like, yeah, this guy's probably a criminal now. So yeah, you definitely see what Steve standing up more for himself as being a good human than necessarily what the government wanted for him. You know what I mean?
Right. Remember, he was in Wakanda by then. He probably had papers and everything. He was a Wakandan.
Bobby has a couple questions here. He says, what are your guys' expectation or expecting from the Fantastic Four? Are you looking forward to Kang? I also think Jonathan Majors Kang doesn't mean Jonathan Krasinski could play Reed Richards, since they're so removed. I'm excited for Jonathan Majors. I really loved him in Lovecraft Country, seeing his range in that show too. I think he'll be a perfect fit for Kang the Conqueror, but I don't really know what to expect from the Fantastic Four. I know we've got a director in charge, but we don't have a writer as of yet. I believe is it Peyton Reed? I believe that's directing the Fantastic Four movies. I can't remember off the top of my head, or if it's the guy from Spider-Man.
It's the guy from Spider-Man, if I remember correctly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I do think direction-wise, they have a great person for the Fantastic Four. For me, it's going to be coming down to the writer to fill that void. But it's in the MCU. It's almost like I don't want to say I'm not necessarily 100% not worried, but it's the same thing of, oh, another production company failed to make a good movie. Now we're passing it on to the MCU. They rebounded with Spider-Man with the great casting for Tom Holland. I think they'll do it again in regards to truly understanding these characters and bringing them to the light the way that they certainly should be. So I'm expecting another solid film.
I expect by the time you see the Fantastic Four, it would be a total reset in the MCU. Gone will be the days of Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, because by the time they get there, there will be a new forefront of faces. So although that the movie has been hinted at, I don't think you'll be seeing it for a while. I do believe you'll see the players pop up every once in a while. And this movie, more than any other of the Marvel movies or franchise that are starting, casting is going to mean a lot. Like who they cast is going to have to be around for a while, and the castings have to be right because these people are going to have to act. It's not going to be something where they're going to be able to say by special effects and everything. As far as Kang, perfect person casted. Can't wait to see him, you know what I'm saying, get involved. It already seems like there's starting to be a lead up now with the Loki series coming. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, and now let me ask you if John Krasinski has been like the front runner for fans. At least we haven't heard anything from Marvel really pushing the idea. It seems like a lot of people certainly would want him for Reed. Do you think if Marvel comes out and it's somebody else completely, do you think it could still just be as successful, or do you think it has to be John Krasinski?
I don't think it has to be John. Just like it doesn't have to be just like with the Blade casting. You know what I'm saying? Mahershala Ali was the perfect casting for that at that time. Because I don't know if it's the same thing now. At that time when that movie was supposed to come out and start filming. So it's all about timing. If the Fantastic Four movie is something that's not going to be even going to start production for like maybe another year or two, maybe John Krasinski isn't the right person. Maybe it'd be better to go with somebody else. But as far as if you want the movie to do well off bat, cast people that the fans want. The man can act, and he would be able to play Reed Richards. But the rest of the cast around him has to be right. And if the rest of the cast around him doesn't go with him, then cast the person that's going to go with him. You know what I'm saying? With them, rather than try to force somebody to be good around him. It's all about how you cast.
Yeah, and I think it would be cool if he was Mr. Fantastic. Don't get me wrong, and I especially think it'd be cool if they committed to it by even having his wife Emily Blunt be Invisible Woman. That would be amazing. That said, yeah, no, I definitely don't think just because like the fans have their really big cast in mind, I don't think Marvel should ever feel like they have to do what like the fans are expecting from them. So I think that regardless of who they get as Mr. Fantastic, it'll be someone that Marvel has really like considered. So it'll be someone that it won't be like just a random pick or a random face there. It'll be someone that like, Marvel is really considering like what would be best for the future of not just the Fantastic Four films, but the MCU as a whole. And on top of that, they also will expect, a little bit of backlash at first, but more than likely they're just not going to worry about it, and they shouldn't, because people are still going to see it. And I'm sure that even if you get the loud voices on the internet that are going to be like, oh, screw you for not casting who I wanted, those same people are still going to watch it regardless.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely agree with you. Like Marvel definitely does do what is important for the story first, but they also do have a really great track record of, I think, really at least hearing fans out and still doing what the fans love. And I do think that's what has made them successful, but they very much know the story that they certainly want to tell. And I do think in certain regards, they definitely put that first before anything else. But I think they just are just a really great understanding of how to balance that out, sort of thing. So if there is any sort of studio that has earned its right, if you will, to be able to make those decisions and not worried about what the fans say, I think if anybody's earned our trust, it definitely is the MCU. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but they are coming. The Fantastic Four is coming, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Other than that, I think that's going to go ahead and actually wrap it up for us here, guys. So thank you everybody for certainly joining us for yet another episode of APlus Hero Report here every Sunday for you guys live at noon Central Time. We'll definitely do our best to be back next week for you guys also. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and go around here real quick. If anybody wants to find you guys on social media, Indy, where can they find you, sir?
You can find me first and foremost right here at APlus Opinions. My bad, baby has a fever. She's going crazy right now. Right here at APlus Opinions. You can find me here doing news and reviews right here on Hero Report. This is the place that I love to be. As they know, I hate missing these things. it's amazing here. But you could definitely check out the music. Just search Indie Uchiha, all streaming platforms. There's a lot of big things coming and a lot of huge announcements coming pretty soon as well.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you very much, bro. And then for Stuart, if people want to reach out to you, sir, on social media, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at TurboStew01. You guys can, of course, always find me here on APlus Hero Report for my Superman and Lois reviews. And then, of course, on APlus More Phenomenal for my Kamen Rider reviews. Recently, I had started falling behind on the Patreon videos that I was supposed to be doing for the Kamen Rider Ryuki and Dragonite reviews. But I assure you guys, they are coming back this week, starting Tuesday with our usual Toku Tuesday schedules. So I will, but it won't be reviews anymore. It's going to be me doing reactions moving forward with Kamen Rider, both Dragonite and Ryuki. But it is coming back this Tuesday. I do promise you guys that. Also coming this Tuesday on my channel at TurboStew01. If you guys are interested, I have a really funny movie review to celebrate 420. And it's it's a movie that a lot of people are going to be really surprised to know that it exists. And I think they're going to be even more surprised to know that there were several movies setting this movie up. So definitely recommend checking it out at, not Turbo Studio 01. Sorry, the YouTube channel is Turbo Studios. So definitely check that review up if you guys are in for a really interesting laugh.
I might definitely go and check that out. And if anything, maybe I'll put on Half Baked to celebrate my 420. So we'll definitely see. I don't think you can go wrong either. But guys, listen, if you want to follow us on social media, you can always do so at APlus Opinions. You can find us right here, or it's somewhere up in that top corner for you guys. Very active over on our main page, which is our Facebook page. You can also find us over on Twitter as well. We're also active over on Instagram as well as Twitch for you gamers. If you guys have not subscribed to our YouTube page, please go ahead and do so at APlus Hero Report. We definitely will have some, not only do we go live every weekend, but we also review a ton of DC television shows for you guys as well. So definitely keep an eye out for that. We've got Black Lightning up right now. Batwoman is certainly back. I believe The Flash is going on a little bit of a hiatus, but we also have Supergirl going on our channel in the meantime as well. So if you are looking for a home for your DC television reviews, this is certainly the place as well, ladies and gentlemen. So follow us on social media, hit that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen, along with that bell notification. So when we do drop brand new videos, you will certainly be notified. Other than that, I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for us here today. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And until next time, keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.